DIY.
DIYers in this week of what are these light-skinned niggas doing now? I'm playing. In this week of pure nonsense, we're met with more nonsense when it involves Kendrick versus Drake. This time it's not coming from Drake himself. Well, we'll get to that. But it's coming from somebody who's a well-respected artist, well-respected voice, someone who has taught the great art of lyricism, somebody that by his own right is one of the best lyricists of all time, in my opinion. Somebody that by the end of this, you may understand why some people saw him as the first Kendrick, the first lyrical rapper to have a platform to really change the landscape of what we expect from mainstream music, especially when we include backpack music, right? So backpack, hip hop heads, y'all know what I'm talking about. So with that said, Lupe had a few questionable things to say, and it's so unfortunate because, man, shout out to my guy, Justin from the company, man. You just check that YouTube out if you haven't already. He was the one that told me, you got to listen to this new Lupe Fiasco project. Not only is he rapping, the choruses are fire. He's got like songs, and it's just a dope concept. He broke it down about how it had to do with Amy Winehouse. So dope. I listened to it. Magnificent. Let's start off with respect. Magnificent. But if 2024 has taught us anything, whatever is said, thought, or done in the light done in the dark will eventually come to light. Let me draw your attention to this video first that does a good wrap up on some of the first bit of the shenanigans by Lupe Fiasco. This one is on an Instagram page called I Am Bobby Foster. His caption says, I'm not sure why Lupe Fiasco always talks on Kendrick Lamar. There's a history of this, and we're going to dig into some of that. But let's see what Bobby Foster is talking about here.
Lupe's throwing shade at Kendrick, and what he says honestly just doesn't make sense to me.
But they selling more records than you and selling more tour dates than you. But you the spokesperson for hip hop. That don't make no sense.
For context, this is one of the many conversations that Lupe had live in the Twitter spaces or X spaces, whatever you want to call it, where he jumped in and had some really vulnerable conversations, right? His relationship with Stack Bundles and how that affected the way he viewed New York in general. He's talking about here Kendrick versus Drake and how he believes that because of certain metrics, it disqualifies Kendrick Lamar from being able to say that he's king of hip hop right now, which is odd, but I'll let him cook.
So he's saying that Kendrick can't claim he's a spokesperson for hip hop because Drake sells more than he does. That doesn't really make sense, because when you talk about hip hop as a genre specifically, like music sales doesn't necessarily correlate to like cultural influence and impact, because like hip hop was born out of being anti-establishment. So also aligning cultural influence with, you know, sales, that doesn't make sense.
And also, too, Lupe ain't sold more than both of them.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Neither did I, but I didn't bring this conversation up. When has there been a time in history, and I'm sure it has existed before, where the top lyricists are making talking points for who's the king of this shit? A lyrical monster in their own right, who's making a claim for who's the king based upon metrics by them folks, them industry folks, them folks that went and capitalized and cannibalized upon the culture. You talking about them people? Them folks? Talking about them folks? Since when have we allowed that to rule things? Because if that was the case on the way in for Lupe Fiasco, there'd be a lot of people who would disqualify him and his voice. But we know what his impact was. As early back as the Kick Push, we know his contribution. Such a weird talking point. And it makes me wonder, why would he want to say this during one of Kendrick's biggest moments? Interesting.
There have been a lot of hip hop artists that have meant a large amount to the genre that never had great sales. And on the flip side, there's people that have had ridiculous amount of sales that haven't really had that type of influence on the genre. Like, it's clear that Kendrick Lamar has a gigantic reverence for hip hop, from the history, the culture, the craft. And so what do you mean, like, people can't see him as a spokesperson for the genre? Like, he's probably one of the best people to do that. I don't know, Lupe just keeps taking these like subtle shots at Kendrick, and I really don't know why.
It's interesting, but we are just getting started. Did you know that Lupe has all this to say, but apparently during the back and forth with Kendrick and Drake, he didn't listen to not one of the diss songs by Kendrick. Duh? I draw your attention over here to this clip where they clipped up an interview or a conversation that was had between Lupe Fiasco and Joe Budden. And here's where he kind of lays out what he means, how he views the beef, and all of the above, especially as somebody, like I said, that teaches courses, does courses at colleges in which he's teaching the great art of lyricism to someone who is pretty much a scholar within this space. It's just odd to see him talk this way, specifically about Kendrick once again.
What up, Joe?
There we go. Peace, 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 peace.
What's up, brother?
What brings you to our room of negativity?
Nah, I was just on the Twitter doing some housekeeping, and I seen you was up, so I just jumped in. That's all.
All right. I thought you were coming in here to get at me.
Nah, I would never get at you. If I get at you, I'm gonna call you.
That is true. That is true.
I'm gonna do the public shit.
You have been on a tear as of late.
I mean, even when I don't do nothing, I do something, right?
I like that. I like that. I'm banned from talking about the beef, and this is not beef room, but I just want to let you know I see you laying your fork in the sand on where you stand on things, and that's commendable for me.
I haven't listened to any of the songs.
Yet I saw another interview where he was talking about that he had heard Push-Ups, but he hasn't heard any of the songs by Kendrick. Why single him out? That's odd. That's odd.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's baffling to people. I stopped listening. I listened to Push-Ups and was the Ross response, and then after the Ross response, I haven't listened to anything, so I haven't heard any of the records. Family.
You telling me? Hold on. Let me bring this together. You telling me that one of the best lyricists of this time, one of the most competitive, because we saw the conversation, the back and forth that he tried to start up with a Royce to 5'9" as of recently, a few years back, mostly during the pandemic. This man, in all of his competitive spirit, doesn't want to hear who a lot of people point to as someone that came after him, someone who had the career he was supposed to have. You mean to tell me he has no interest in seeing what other people call the best? You don't want to hear none of those songs? But you heard Push-Ups, and that's where you were like, yeah, I think I'm done here. Rick Ross, that's it. You don't want to hear nothing from Kendrick? A lyricist? Huh.
I haven't listened to any of the songs.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's baffling to people. I stopped listening. I listened to Push-Ups and was the Ross response, and then after the Ross response, I haven't listened to anything, so I haven't heard any of the records. Family Matters, Meet the Grams, Not Like Us. I kind of tapped out.
I don't buy it.
Oh, so that's even doper that you just going off your sheer hate for one of them niggas. I'm the opposite of you.
You hate Drake, I know.
No, but it's from love.
I know.
And you hate Kendrick.
No, I don't.
From love.
No, I love that.
That don't sound like love to me.
Hey,
what kind of love is that? Hey, brother, I love you. But in the most crucial point of your career, I don't want to have nothing to do with listening to anything that you got to say. But I love you. Hey, I love you. Don't invite me to your graduation. What is the logic here? What is the justifiable logic here?
Like, I love Drake.
No, you don't love Drake though.
You don't love Kendrick.
You actually dissed him. You got the first diss record.
You have actually dissed Kendrick.
You're right. I have.
So let's address this. Thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for the super chat. So this one was sent here by Instant Messenger Sama. Wasn't Lupe the one who put a Young Dot on stage tour back in the day? Absolutely. I remember that being done. However, one thing that you got to understand about the industry, one thing that I have seen firsthand, is that those who have these kind gestures don't always have pure intent. That situation easily could have been, hey, I'm gonna look up for this up and coming artist. He'll remember me if he blows up. But you ain't gotta worry about him. I'm gonna always have my spot solidified. Please, Instant Messenger Sama, stay tuned for another video that we're gonna react to in this. That's gonna help explain where the fork in the road might have happened. But yeah, good point. He did put him up there on stage. However, just because somebody made one gesture way back does not mean that they feel the same way about it today. I continue though.
Yeah, I know you have. It's me, nigga. All that shit you said in that room the other day, I was like, hey, dog.
No. I thought you was talking about the control response. But everybody responded to control.
I know, me too.
Yeah, everybody. So even you. But I never dissed them though. That was just the control response. And I wasn't even talking to him. I was kind of talking to his fans.
Well, you got some interviews where you are the opposite of me. The same way I have like interviews or just content pieces where people could surmise that, hey, this nigga might really hate that nigga. You have the same just on the other end. That's why I love that this is me and you.
Because we
like true.
Like dark side, light side. You light side, I'm dark side.
No, this is not even like that. But I like to see two contrasting opinions from two MCs of our caliber. That's what I like. And I'm glad that my person beat your person.
Yep.
But I genuinely don't have any issues. Like I really don't.
I'm not going to force that narrative like the rest of the internet because I don't have any issues with Drake.
I can't even say nothing without it. Like he just woke up today and I was like, damn, I just woke up. But anyway.
But I do like, I'll end with this. I do like.
Hold on, let me find out Lupe's in here. Is Lupe really in here? Where is he at? Courtney just sent me a text. Let me find out Lupe's in here. I want to talk to Lupe. Let me find out. Oh, look. What we doing up in this today? Lupe, we having a conversation. I would love to have this conversation with you. But I'm looking at this and bro, there's a lot of things that just don't make any sense. As a hip hop fan of yours, a genuine fan of what you do, there's some confusing dialogue happening right now, sir. And I would really love to get more insight on it just for somebody that's like, I'm a supporter of Kendrick, I'm a supporter of yours. And I'm looking at some of this stuff and I'm like, it's not adding up. It's not adding up. I got a few videos here and maybe you want to let me do my thing before I get into any conversation, but you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come up and have a conversation. I would love to have that talk. But I'm just sitting here wondering, why is it so much conversation like this? It feels like it's one thing here and it's one. I'm going to get through it by all means. That would be amazing to have that conversation with you. But we're just reacting.
When you say shit like, hey, I rap better than anybody, so take it however the fuck you want to take it.
That's the energy though, right? But
yeah, I like that. Don't explain where the.
He said, yup, just in here lurking. All right. Well, the same conversation I would have had, and I say this respectfully to you, you are one of the greats. We started off with the coolest verse because you are one of the greats. But I really genuinely have, if I ever met you, I would have the same questions, obviously where context matters. But he says, just lurking, pretend like I'm not here. Well, that's going to be easy, right? Nah, that ain't going to be easy. Let's talk about it.
808s was made.
Oh, no, we gonna do that. Don't do that, Joe. Don't make. I'll teach this. I got.
I know.
Ooh, nigga, relax.
I know you on your. I know you teaching.
No, but I'm saying that.
You say that's because y'all keep bringing it up. This is the first time I've ever covered it. But there's a lot of videos, and that's not your fault. That's not Lupe's fault. It's crazy. I'm talking to Lupe right now. It's not your fault, but there exists content out here that contradicts a narrative of y'all the ones that keep bringing it up. That first conversation that you had, and we went over this point too, so it's okay to go ahead and go back over the point. For somebody who represents, in this generation, top tier elite lyricism, for somebody who I look at, and I don't know you personally, for somebody who represents the core of what this is about, hearing the conversation about how Kendrick can't claim the throne because he's not selling as much as Drake, is just supremely confusing. The timing of it is confusing, especially at a time where Kendrick is kicking ass. Hearing you say that I heard push-ups, and I did. Let me make sure I give credit to this. I did hear that other conversation on Spaces. I didn't want to bring it into here because I didn't want it to get messy with my audience. But you did have another conversation where you said you know that beef can get to a place where it gets ugly, right? And it gets to a place where people lose their lives and their livelihood. But hearing that you listen to the Drake push-ups and the Rick Ross and none of the Kendrick records, and you represent competitive nature in this, I'm confused, brother. That's it. And I'm going to just say this before we get into this. Be respectful of our guest in here. Okay? Moderators, you already know what the deal is. Nobody be in here disrespecting this man. We are having a conversation about this culture we love. That's all it is. But be respectful, ladies and gentlemen.
If as a rapper, like you can love everybody. Like me and you got love for each other, but I will light you up if we ever got into a beef, right? On some rap shit.
That's debatable.
But you gonna try your best, I'm gonna try my best. Right?
Yeah, that's much better worded.
My man.
Because when I was outside, you was one of the people I was looking for, and you never popped up.
But you handled yours. You claimed you didn't really have to do nothing because you took Pump It Up back from Jay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so you was already solid. You had kind of proved like, oh yeah, don't fuck with Joe.
Yeah, no, I look for people. Win, lose, or draw, I'm coming to the fight.
Yeah.
And
but
so I would love to get context on that. Lupe, are you available for a conversation? Because, your presence here is absolutely switching the direction of this content. It's very rare to be in the presence of somebody like yourself, and I'm willing to ask all the same questions that I have in this video. But I think that would be better suited if we could have that conversation. It doesn't have to be long. It could be 15 minutes of your time. I could send you a link right now, and we could have that conversation. But if not, I understand it. You're on your own timing. I don't have StreamYard, ladies and gentlemen, or Afro Butterfly. I don't have that. It would be amazing to have that conversation with you, because I still got clips up here I want to react to. It's love in here. That's why we have questions. We don't go at anybody that we have no respect for. Even if it's just audio, that part now, we would love that. Send it. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. All right, let's do this. So this takes things for a turn. I love it. This is going to be real easy to set up right here. All right, so Lupe, I'm following you here on Twitter. I appreciate you being here, first of all. And like I said, the whole point of this, we have conversations about the culture, and we really want to help. We really want to understand what's going on. We really want to understand why the folks in the moment that are winning are being talked about a certain way. But context is everything. And anytime I'm wrong, people that tell you, I'll always come back and correct it. But let me go ahead and get this set up. See if this works as well here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, have a little patience with me. We're going to get this thing started. Jump into Zoom. All right, well, that changes things. That changes things a bit, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let me get this Zoom situation situated. All right. All right, here we go. Got the link. All right, let's go over here to the good old Twitter. Let's go ahead and go. Hey, let's have this conversation. Boom. Yes, sir. Let me duplicate this real quick. We're gonna split screen this up. Let's change the All right, so I'm just waiting up on him right now. And as soon as he here, we'll have that conversation. First time this has happened, ladies and gentlemen. Let me get this situated now. Lupe.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
What up?
Can't call that. I appreciate you being here. I want to get you here on screen. Are you just doing audio just so I...
Yeah, I'm just doing audio.
There it is.
That's
just
cool. That's what you...
Yeah, you're good. Everything sounds good. Let me make sure the audience knows what's happening. So we were doing a reaction in the middle of the reaction about what some of us interpreted as some weird things, I guess, that are being said about Kendrick in particular. We were getting ready to go through our usual spiel. Lupe decided to join us here live in the stream. Your time is valuable, sir. First and foremost, thank you for being here. Secondly, what is some context that I guess brings you here to have this conversation?
So, you know, we promoting the tour, Samurai tour. So I have to kind of regularly go back to my YouTube account to just see what questions people are asking, if there's any issue. And then also to kind of like delete like a lot of the crazy like spam stuff that we've been getting for the past few days, because it's kind of misdirecting fans and doing stuff like that. So because of that, when I go to my account, everything that's being talked about me comes up. So like your stream, different videos. So I'm not like looking for what people are saying.
Sure.
Comes up naturally in like the account. So some things I dip into, see what's the new shit today, you know, see what is happening. And so your stream popped up and you was just live streaming. So I was like, oh, let me see what you saying. Because a lot of these reaction videos past couple of days.
Been wild, right?
Yeah, it's been cool though. You know, I ain't tripping. But go ahead. You said you got questions and things like that already.
Yeah. So the conversation wasn't going to be specifically about, like, this was just the lead-in. The lead-in conversation, I saw some of these things that you had in these interviews on the Spaces later before I started to get on here live. The first story that I was actually going to cover was kind of clarifying why you thought that Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, or the share that Dame Dash is trying to sell off, why you felt like that would be best in the hands of a Drake.
Okay, so first, I want to get super like back up a little bit.
Sure.
I don't know you, right?
Of course.
And you don't know me. You know me through my music and stuff like that, but I'm saying like we don't know each other.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, cool. So you don't have a bias for me or against me.
No.
I don't have a bias for you or against you. I just want to clarify that for folks so people don't be like, oh, he no dude, or he capping for you. No. They'll turn on you like, oh, yo, you supposed to be digging a little harder, digging a little deeper. You trying to keep it biased. You just kind of on the sidelines, right? So we're not like in cahoots.
Can I say this too? First of all, congratulations on Samurai. I think it's a phenomenal project. We talked about that. Justin, I don't know if you're familiar with the company, man.
Yeah, it's my homie.
Man, he's the one that said, Curtis, put down whatever you're doing and listen to this project. That's somebody that I've done a lot of content with, somebody that's a mentor of mine in the journalism space. So he speaks very highly of you, and he brought me to that project. I had already listened to you years and years, and you were one of the first times us as lyricists, I'm an artist myself, saw somebody in the mainstream and said this is possible. Look at the way that they're showing him love. So I say that with context, not saying that I'm not going to ask the questions that I have still questions about, but it needs to be known, like, there was no hate piece getting ready to be made. It was genuinely asking and trying to understand what's going on.
Oh no, by the end of this, I guarantee you're gonna have a different point of view.
There it is.
Okay. So, but shout out to Justin. Yeah, that's the homie. We go way, 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 way back. He's always been a supporter. And he has an inside line to us. So I know Justin. So that's like kind of like the difference. When I say I know somebody, like people gonna feel like, oh, if Justin did this, you know, Justin gonna cap a cape for you or this, that, and the third. Well, I don't want you to hold back anything. Like
sure.
I want you to just go all in like we strangers in the street. Cool?
Cool. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay, so so to give a little context, all right, I'm actually going to pull this up here since I got this window. Let me see if I can pull this window up. There it is. All right, so there was an article here, and I happen to see it on Instagram first. The first question I have for you goes around a comment that I believe you left on Dame Dash's page, where he's been trying to sell off publicly. He's been saying he wants to sell off that 1/3 share that he owns of the Reasonable Doubt album.
Yeah.
So here you have
for years though.
For years, right?
Well, hold on. But you know, for years, he's been trying to do that for years.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
I remember during the pandemic when the NFTs and all that stuff was popping, he wanted to turn it into an NFT.
Remember that?
Right? You remember that or no?
Yes, absolutely.
You remember it or no?
No, we cover that.
So
absolutely.
Dame been kind of like, Dame been kind of like moving weird with Reasonable Doubt. And just to be clear, I love Dame. I was gonna sign on Rockefeller Records back in the day.
Right.
So I know Dame. I appreciate. I look at him as a mentor in the space, as an OG in the space. That's why I follow him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you look at my Instagram, I don't really follow too many niggas. But Dame Dash is one of those dudes. I think we share definitely similar opinions on people like Lior, and different people like that.
Sure.
So yeah, that's kind of like hopefully some background for folks. But yeah, Dame been trying to sell or like get rid of Reasonable Doubt for years, but you know he won't sell it to Jay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I've heard that mentioned a few times.
That he will not sell it to Jay-Z.
Right.
So it's like, all right, cool. You don't want to sell it to Jay. Jay could easily buy it, or you could easily just keep it, but he wants to sell it. And to each his own. That is his shit. Sure. He put it together. My first opinion. Can you read that comment if you have it up, the whole thing?
I have this here, and they got it quoted here on XXL. Is that cool if I pull from here, or do you want me to go to the page just to make sure the context is right?
Go. I mean, I deleted it off Dame page, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
But just so people know, how long ago was this? Like 4 or 5 days ago?
Yeah, it's a couple of days ago, and they have the actual full quote here. And you could tell me if there's anything wrong with that.
So just so people know, Dame posted on Instagram that he was trying to sell Reasonable Doubt, a third of it. Serious inquiries only. That was his post, right? I just want other people to say it so people don't think I'm making this up. Right.
So it even talk about in the article too, and they said that you basically added Champagne Poppy, which Drake. You said
no. Forget the article for real quick.
Yeah.
Because who's the article from?
That's XXL.
XXL. Okay.
Yeah.
You go to Dame's Instagram.
Okay, we'll go there
and see if it's still up.
Well, it says in here that it's a deleted comment. Is what they're saying.
I want you to read Dame's
for the context. Okay.
If Dame's post is still up.
Got you.
On Instagram. My comment. I deleted my comment. I'll tell you why. But the comment is XXL should be correct if they screen captured it. Yeah. But I just want to see if the Dame post is there so people know.
All right. So I'm running through these right now. Here it is. Okay. So it says. In the caption, Dame says the shit is for sale, 1/3, only real inquiries only.
Okay. So I want to ask you a question first.
Sure.
What do you think about that?
I hate to see this thing play out publicly, but as I start to understand, because like I said, we've covered some of these stories. I don't know these individuals. I've met Dame a few times while he was on tour with Murs. So I don't know him like that, but I hate to see the way that this thing is played out publicly, because seeing it be on his platform is discouraging, especially for something that is such a cherished heirloom in the culture. Like, to me, this is one of the classic albums of all time. To have it to where a third of it is out there to the highest bidder and it's in an Instagram post is discouraging to see. As a fan, as an artist, all that.
So I learned how to rap because of Reasonable Doubt.
Sure.
My first raps that I used to write, when I was writing like, I really want to be a rapper, we didn't have instrumentals. And this is back in 1998.
Okay.
And I had a dub tape of Reasonable Doubt. And I eventually got my first copy of Reasonable Doubt from a pawn shop for like $1.50 out in the South Chicago.
Okay.
But I learned how to rap literally writing over full songs from Reasonable Doubt. So I would just write over Can I Live, right? Or I would write over The Evils, right? And that was kind of like my instrumentals and beats. And that's how I learned how to rap. When I first started rapping, I didn't used to write to beats, right? I used to write. So Reasonable Doubt for me is kind of like my first rap notebook, right? So you just told me what it means to you, right?
Well, not the album, but what is that? You're asking me what does the album mean to me? Or are you asking me what seeing this play out the way that it is? That's what I was reacting to.
Yeah, you just kind of mentioned though, like this what the album is pivotal. It's a moment in hip hop. It's this, that, and the third, right? Yeah, and that kind of leads into why you feel like this is discouraging to see it kind of presented like this.
Well, for me as a fan, that album is funny enough. Back when Ab Soul was recording in my grandmother's patio, he was the one that told me I need to go revisit this project because he's working at Magic Disc Store at the time. I was living in Carson. And he was the introduction to that because I saw him rapping and I said, man, where do you learn that from? Where do you learn all? So being able to like revisit that project, because I was West Coast biased. My pops brought me up on NWA and all these different West Coast artists. So there was always kind of an East Coast bias coming up. So I had to go revisit a lot of these classic albums. If it wasn't Big Daddy Kane, like it was a lot of folks that Pops did rock with, Rakim, Kumo D. This is one I had to revisit way after it was out. And I was blown away by hearing how clear his thoughts were over the production that he chose. And this was something pivotal for me early on because I had never seen anybody rap like that except for Ab Soul in person when he was a young.
Ab Soul got it from,
say it again?
From Jay. And Ab Soul got a little bit of that from Jay.
He told me that. That's how I got to the album. He was like, revisit this if you want to learn whatever it is that you see in me.
So Reasonable Doubt is one of Ab Soul's favorite albums.
Absolutely.
Is one of my favorite albums. That's just two of us, and we two are the most elite MCs in the game. Now you can just project that same statement across hundreds of MCs, right? About what Reasonable Doubt means to them, right?
Right.
And then what it means to you, even if you got it later, you got it referenced by somebody who you respect, who we all respect as being one of the greatest lyricists, which is in Ab Soul, right?
Right.
So that's why it kind of feels a little strange to see it being kind of used and maneuvered like this, right? But to each his own.
Sure.
Right? If that's what they want to do, so be it. Whatever the situation is with Jay, if we separated them two from it and we just looked at like what this piece means for us as lyricists and MCs, like we appreciate it, right? Like we adore it. It's one of those works that should be, and I'll stop there so you can read the comment now.
Okay, let's get to it because people are already jumping the gun into the question I got. So let me make sure this is on my window is correct. They go on to quote you here, and they said that you added, speaking as highly as you do of the project, you added someone who is not having the best of years, Drake, in Champagne Poppy, and you said Drake will keep it safe for generations to come. Lupe wrote in a since deleted comment, which can be viewed below. This is Grail and influence an innumerable amount of rappers. To see it peddle such a lack of grace genuinely hurts my feelings a little bit. So you kind of echoing a lot of the same sentiments I have about it. You go on to say, but also on savage shit, fuck it. Either donate it to a museum for safekeeping or seriously let Drake make an offer so he can put it where it needs to be. Or just keep the shit OG. You should be infinitely proud of this. Without it, there is no me as I am, as I'm sure other MCs will agree. So obviously the first question is, why do you believe that it's in safe hands with a Drake?
So let's do a little analysis.
Zooming out. Let's do it.
Right? What is the only thing in that comment that you have a problem with?
It being in the hands of Drake.
Right. So just Drake.
Just Drake. Yeah.
Right. Nothing else.
The safekeeping, having it be put somewhere that is safe. Hell yeah. How can I disagree with that? Yeah.
You agree with it influence numerable MCs?
Absolutely.
You agree with that it shouldn't be peddled like this? Like it should be treated with a certain level of grace?
Absolutely.
You also agree with like, damn, you should just keep it. Like you should be proud of that, right?
I'd rather him keep it, for sure.
So you agree with everything that I said except Drake?
In this statement, yes.
Okay, so I'll ask you a question. Why?
I have had the thought from watching the way that Drake has maneuvered for years of this colonizer theme that's been going on. And I want to be respectful because I know that's somebody that you have a relationship with or somebody that you respect.
I'm going to get into my relationship with Drake.
Sure.
I don't want to make those. I don't want you to project.
No, I don't want to project. But I want to say that the thing that has been at the forefront, and I think the thing that has really been moving a lot of the records that were dropped by Kendrick has been the conversation around culture. And
wait. Before we fold Kendrick in, before we fold in all these other pieces, right? You said that you was feeling a certain way about Drake before these even dropped.
It ties in. It ties in. What okay? So let me start with there. Let me start there. With my initial thoughts on him was that I saw the way that he would find himself in different communities, different ghettos around the U.S. before he went international. And what I perceived was that he would go into these areas, find an up-and-coming artist right before they blew, jump on a song with them. The general public sees it as, damn, he just put on for that artist. What a good guy. What somebody who's looking out for him. I thought that's how they perceived it. But what I saw was that a lot of these artists fell by the wayside. Now, that is not solely Drake's responsibility. I'll say that. But a lot of these artists, it felt like had their... Can I... You want to...
Yeah. But
yeah, I just say that. Look, I'm sure you want to get into some specifics. So we'll get into that. But I want to just make sure I land this point at least. Okay. The point that I'm landing is this, is that I felt like he went into different areas, got with the people who were the most influential in these neighborhoods, found a way to adjust to their style, whether it's a JB the Block Boy in Memphis, whether it's a Young Thug in Atlanta, the Migos, whether it's all these different people that he goes into. And it felt like from the outside, my own personal view before any of this happened, was that it's really weird how these artists kind of go by the wayside after the collaboration. Some of them took off. Some of them fall by the wayside, and then Drake goes on to borrow that sound, or what I felt was colonize that sound and make it a part of his collection. Is he the first to do it? No. But I think that the whole packaging, the whole body of what he represents, and just what I saw from the point of view, I'm just looking at this like, this is not okay. There's a way to show homage and pay homage, even when I think about Fonte. Even when I think about the homage that he paid early on in the way that Fonte started to be seen in the media as, oh, this is the guy that is influenced by a Drake. I have articles that we've reacted to where, you know, I know that's not Drake's fault, but I still see that and I'm like, he benefits from that narrative though. So the things that he's doing in which he's utilizing a sing-song flow and he's giving you lyricism and even bars that are structured like a Fonte early on a So Far Gone. I look at that and I say, you're taking full advantage of the fact that you can do that and you've done it with multiple people. Now, fast forward, it's now something that is a mainstream conversation and a dialogue and debate whether or not this is something that he does for strictly capital. Is he really entrenched in the culture? Is it something that he does? Like, last thing I'll say, and I'm going a little rant, but last thing I want to say about this, because I want to make sure I land this. The heirlooms. Me as a Tupac fan, as a West Coast artist, seeing him buy the Tupac ring, even this last week, him trolling with the Tupac shirt, and even allegedly buying the vehicle that Tupac died in, the BMW. That was another part of this story we're going to cover. Seeing the way that he parades those around for music videos and Family Matters, I look at that and I'm like, that's colonizer behavior. And that's the last person that I, on the outside looking in, would want another heirloom to be in the hands of. Because I look at that and I'm like, there's things that you haven't addressed to help us get a better understanding of what your stance is and why you're collecting these. Are you collecting these to have points over a Kendrick? Or are you collecting these because you're genuinely appreciating the culture, but he doesn't address that. And I think now it's coming to a head where everybody's asking the same question. That's all I had to say about that.
Okay. So
and I appreciate you letting me have the opportunity to get that point off.
So when you mention, like, that's not his responsibility when he does these other songs for these artists for them to pop off. Like, whose responsibility is it? And I got more, so I'll lean into them. But that's like the first one when I first was like, yeah. But so whose responsibility is it if you said it's not Drake's? If he does a song with them, and then, like you said, some actually super pop off.
Right.
Some were actually popping before.
Sure.
Some were actually popping off before they did the song with Drake. Some weren't popping off before they did the song with Drake. They did the song with Drake, and they still weren't popping off after and the song wasn't even popping off.
Okay.
Right. But whose responsibility is it?
Ultimately, it's the artist's responsibility.
Okay. Then you said Drake wasn't the first to do that, to go into people's hoods or, beats or genres and, jump on records and flip them. So who was the first to do it?
I can't name you people who have done it exactly, and I don't want to have my words twisted in this one, and I'm not saying that you would do that, but I want to make sure I clarify this. And that I've had reaction videos in which I've talked about reading XXL articles where 50 Cent would say when he first came in the game, his strategy was to make sure that he had a down south record from the best producers. He made sure that he went to Cali. He was working with a Dr. Dre. He wanted to make sure that any region, Midwest, he was working with Eminem. He had obviously he had his own Jamaica Queens background to lean on as well. So he's someone who went into these different areas and not only showed an appreciation for it, but those people still got looped around for other projects to come after that. So when I look at those, I look at Jay-Z as another person that has masterfully, I think, done it in a way where he's invited into these places. I don't know how many of those is him actually seeking out. Like when you think about a UGK, I've seen some of the stories on that. But you look up a Jay-Z. Jay-Z has done it in a way that it seems like this was more of a mutual exchange of business and not business for cultural currency. Because I never seen Jay-Z go to a region. Well, this is my point I was gonna make. I never seen Jay-Z go into a region like a Houston and then come out with the I don't even know what you call it, the barrettes and like really start to. You talk about when Drake went to the Jamaica dance, like when
That's Dallas.
Dallas. I'm sorry, Dallas. When he's going into these different regions and not only taking the sound but also taking the look. And then taking that for the next project and saying, now that I got the cosign from somebody who's really like that in that area, I get to now wear this. It feels very much like a costume. And that's the difference that I saw with 50 Cent. 50 Cent didn't come to California and start throwing up hoods out here. He did say, what up, blood? What up, cuz? What up, gangster? But he didn't come out here and act like nothing except for Jamaica Queens, right? So I think there's a bit of costume work at hand that makes people question what are your true intent. Then hearing shit like the Kendrick's rapping like he's trying to free the slaves. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Right. If I may,
of course.
If I may. So you got Jay-Z with Punjabi MC.
Right.
Which is a big hit record in the South Asian community, South Asian community in the UK. And we don't even know what that chorus is.
Right.
We don't even
to this day.
We don't even know what they say. Right. We don't even know what they saying.
Right.
Right. Let alone what culture it represents. Who is it for? We just bop into it. Eat me up in it. We don't know what that is. Right. I was just giving you an example of somebody you said I actually like who did it first, and it's like I teach rap at MIT.
Absolutely.
One of the courses that we do is rap history. And there's a brother who works at Rhyme Sayers. His name is Kevin Beecham.
Okay.
IR. He's a hip hop historian, a rap historian. He actually wrote an encyclopedia of every verse that was ever written from 1979 to 1989 was like the first installment. And then he was working on everything from 1989 to 1999. And then he kind of stopped because after that, it just became like too exponential. Like it was rap everywhere, right?
Right.
So he has a very cogent, direct history of literally every verse. He can tell you when the first ad lib was used, right? The first time that this particular style was used, the first time this particular flip was used, or this first time this bar sequence or multi-syllable this was used, who was the first person to do this, who was the first person to do that, right?
Right.
So I have a very clear history of rap, right? From all the way through. And I didn't write those books, but I've studied under him. And he teaches in my class, right? So he comes in, does a 2-day lecture with my students. And we can just go through the history of rap, specifically the styles and stuff like that.
What is the name of the book, by the way?
Preface.
What's the name of the book, by the way, that you were talking about?
He never released it. So
never released it. Okay.
he just wrote it, but it's an encyclopedia. But if you look up Kevin Beacham, and your audience as well, look up Kevin Beacham. He works at Rhyme Sayers.
Right.
So he does a lot of hip hop history kind of stuff. He's a rapper too. Started rapping way back in the day, I think in the 70s, maybe the early 80s. So I preface that to say, like, you know, I look at rap very deeply. I study it very deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand like certain patterns. I also understand when people make certain statements about who did this and such did that and such is moving like this. And I kind of like ask people like, well, is that the only person that ever did it?
Right.
Right. And if you dislike this person because they did this, and you feel that because they did this, then they shouldn't be able to do X. Then it's like, what if I showed you that there was 10 other people who did the exact same thing and some really, really close, but you don't have the same critique for them?
Well, that
one, because maybe you didn't know
that
they did it, right? That they're actually doing that. Two is like, that's some of that is kind of normal behavior. It may not seem like that from artists first, who aren't really like in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're on the periphery. It's one thing to be in the culture, but then you could be in the culture in your region. Like you said, you was more West Coast biased. You got Reasonable Doubt late. Like what year did you hear Reasonable Doubt, if I may ask?
I don't know the exact year, but it had to be.
Was it in the 90s?
Early 2000s for sure.
Right, so early 2000. It came out in 1996.
96, yep.
So, you know, it could be a regional thing where like, yeah, you're steeped in the culture in your region, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're steeped in this region or that region, right?
And I was a Tupac fan. That might have did some years as well. I was a Tupac fan during the years where he wasn't agreeing with a whole lot of these artists, so I had no interest in admittedly so I had no interest in listening to a lot of these artists as well.
Got you. So if you listen to Reasonable Doubt, Too Short's on Reasonable Doubt, right? He's got a song with Too Short talking about pimping hoes before Big Pimpin', before you get into UGK and into that, right? So there's glimmers and shimmers of, I don't want to say it's one-to-one with the accusations. And in no way I want you to take this as me defending Drake. All of this is me. This is like Lupe Fiasco, just so you have a clear understanding of who I am. And it's not filtered through a magazine or through Justin or some comments or through your comment section. Like you're getting this direct from me, right?
Right.
Like people make accusations about certain folks, and because they're not culturally, like they're in their culture and they say they're about the culture, but you're in that regional culture. Like that's not how it plays in this regional culture, right? Over here, they actually do this, and it's not really frowned upon in that culture. Take all the culture away and let's go to business. And business, that's nothing, that's super normal, right? They want to connect you. One of the first rules in business, if you ever get a record deal, I don't know your business situation or your relationship to the music industry in any way.
Right.
And I don't want to make assumptions. But one of the first things they tell you, the first thing you need to do is lock down your backyard. They're not even giving you a deal, or you're not even popping up on their radar.
Yeah.
Unless you got something on the radio in your city where you're from.
Right.
That's something I've been on every major system except Interscope. So I've been on BMG, I've been on Sony, and I've been on Warner. Right. Every single one across different eras. So starting from the late 90s when I was on Sony, right? Sony Epic.
Mm-hmm.
In the early thousands, I was on Arista BMG. And then my music started coming out, as y'all know me, was on Warner.
Mm-hmm.
And across all those systems, completely different systems. Hey, are you popping in your hometown? Do you got a record spinning in such and such? Right? That's the first thing they ask.
Right.
That second step is like, we want you to do a record. Now we want you to go get this city. Right? And we want you to go rock in this town. And we want to take you to go do a show in this town. And then you got to go do a show in this town. You got to rock with these people. Do you know this person? We want to connect you with this person.
Sure.
We want to see if you can do a feature with that person. Yo, we got some dudes in Philly. Want you to do a feature over here. Can you do a such and such and such? So you do the tour. I don't want people to think that that's not normal for artists. You mentioned with 50. 50 came out. Who was 50 signed to? Dr. Dre.
Right.
Right. He wasn't signed with Jay-Z. He wasn't signed with. I know this gonna sound a little stupid, but just bear with me. You know, you would think like, okay, if you from a particular region, then you need to be signed with the label that's from that particular region. He wasn't signed with Murder Inc.
Right.
Murder Inc. They are from Queens. He from 50 from Queens. He wasn't signed with them. Right. He got his deal in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's something about like, yeah, we get that. I understand the point that he's dipping in this culture and he's dipping in that culture. That person's dipping in that culture. But I'm very, very like hesitant to say that other artists weren't doing the exact same thing.
Well, and you brought up a point earlier, and I appreciate you laying that out, but you brought up a point earlier of specifically with me, how would I view it if somebody that I came up listening to, respected, and revered did the same thing? A spade is a spade. And that's something that I feel like I have a responsibility in this space. There have been times where my favorite artist of all time is 3 Stacks, Andre 3000 of all time, right? And hearing him talk about what does he have to rap about at the age that he's at, colonoscopies, I was very critical of it. And so it's the same thing that I have. But even with that said, if other artists have done it before, have done things that can be categorized as colonizing behavior, my question still stands. Of all the people, I would much rather have this catalog, this classic catalog, in the hands of somebody who themselves respects the craft enough not to have a ghostwriter to pen their lyricism. So
but we can get to that too. But let's keep it.
No, but
question, but then you
right. But I'm
project into.
I'm also answering at the same time because I want to make sure that you got your point across, but I also want to make sure that these are the talking points that I was going to get to. Is that even before you came in here, the conversation was, if this is somebody that I personally, and I've already said this, view as having a lot of colonizing behavior that goes even beyond just borrowing of sounds, beyond the transaction of doing businesses in different cities. This is somebody who, to a certain degree, even mimics West Coast culture. His toilet goes off and plays California Love anytime somebody pisses or takes a shit. Hey, seeing the way he's playing around with these Tupac heirlooms, to have a one-up when it feels like a one-up in a battle, and then also to hear him say in a song, I wouldn't cry if Tupac, he said, I didn't cry when Tupac died, but I probably will when Jay-Z does. I look at that and I'm like, yeah, that's a great argument for him having more respect for a Jay-Z, but that to me doesn't show that that's the person that you put that kind of work in the hands of. I don't want any more hip-hop heirlooms in the hands of somebody who won't explain lines like he had on the SZA song talking about I had you like something like whips and chains like American slaves. There's things that he's saying that are showing a very tone-deaf approach to interacting with folks.
If I may.
Sure.
I understand that you have a lot of passion about this.
Sure.
You got a lot of evidence as well based on your kind of understanding and reading, and you're pulling lyrics from certain songs and different stuff like that. And I appreciate and I understand all of that, right? The reason to get to the point, to get to the question that you asked, right? Why would I put Drake up there before I put anybody else? One, I don't even think the Instagram post should have been posted. I don't think it should be offered to sale for anybody. Right. And for me, that's primary. Everything after that to me is secondary. I don't have the same passion and energy as you do for it.
Sure.
My passion and energy for it is that it shouldn't be sold.
Okay.
right?
That's your
Like,
first. That's the first place that you stand on that, because you did say that in the comments.
And Dame, if you're gonna, and I know Dame, and that's another thing. Like, I know everybody that we talking about. I know.
Right.
So I know Jay. I know Dame. I know Drake. Is right. Do I know them? Like, he's my homies. Let me call him up. Stuff like that. No, but I gave Drake the beat. I mean, I gave Jay the beat for What More Can I Say? And I was in the studio when he recorded the whole Black album. And, you know, I know Dame. Dame brought me out on stage in Chicago with them for the first time.
We know, but like, this is why we have so much respect for you. We know who you are, brother. We and this is an audience of hip hop heads who respect your imprint in this. You know,
I don't want to make assumptions. I just want to give you my facts.
Yeah, this is we got respect for you, but it's just this is so questionable for us.
Oh, hold on.
Sure.
Because you don't know how I know these people, so I'm giving you and your audience
some context.
Again, because I know you and you don't know me.
Right.
Okay. So I'm telling you, like, oh, I actually know these dudes. I was actually around for the creation of some of these pivotal works. I was around to see these dudes go from zero to nothing. I was in Toronto, and one of the homies up at forgot the name of the streetwear store up there, gave me a copy of Drake's mixtape for free. Right. And it was October very own, his first shit, right? Oh, his second shit, I don't know his whole piece. And I looked at it, and the first thing I said, I was like, this shit look weird. And I was like, what type of rap name is Drake? And I took that shit, I didn't listen to it, and I put that shit in the, you know, in the pocket of SU, you know, like in a car. Sure. You sit in the back seat, there's a pocket in the front seat. Man, I put that shit, because I get mixtapes all the time. People like, yo, check out my man. And I put that shit in the front seat of that pocket, in the pocket of the front seat, and left. Right? That was my first thing with it. It was like, what type of name is Drake?
What year is this? Do you recall what year this is?
It's the year that the that October's very own mixtape came out. Okay. The one with on the front with the jacket on. We got the Caesar. It was like his first thing. I think early version of Best I Ever Had was on there. Okay. Right. And I got that shit the homies gave it to me for free at a sneaker shop. I was like, yo, check out dude, he's such and such. And I didn't do it out of spite. I just kind of did it out of like, you know, all right, cool. Right. But I got to see him from that point. He opening up for me. I'm opening up for him. And I still didn't really believe it and didn't know what he was on until he did a show in Chicago. Okay. He came to Chicago, he did the House of Blues. And I went to not in the crowd, but on the side of the stage. And shit was packed out. Right. And this like he pre-gamed. He putting all this shit together. And I seen him, and I looked at the crowd. It was 2 a.m. Like, these people stayed here for like 6 hours to see this nigga perform. And just the connection was just like, oh, he out of here. And I remember saying, and he bought a bunch of the gangsters out. The niggas who threw the show was a bunch of gangsters from the city. Right? So everybody that was backstage was gangsters and killers and shit, right? But the crowd was all girls. Right? And it was such a weird thing, but I was like, this nigga, and I remember saying when he got off stage, I got backstage, and there's a picture of me and him on stage because it was a fight, and I went out there and grabbed him because he was finna talk. He was like, hey, y'all niggas, and I was like, there ain't number killers in here. Right. And after the show, I was like, after what the fuck I just saw, I don't want no problems. This dude out of here. He out of here. Let me stay out the way. And then from that point forward, you get the rest is history. So I remember, hold on. I'm right. Biography, right? Right. So I remember when we would be on tour, and I was telling his manager at the time, and I was like, yo, if he finna be singing and rapping, make sure y'all get inner ears. Like inner ear monitors, where it's like pro tips. It was like, yo, make sure y'all get that. That way he won't be blowing his voice out. He can hear himself because they just rapping over the monitors. So it's little things like that, all the way up to just being like on the outside looking in, right? Again, going from when he was opening for me to me opening for him. And then the rest is history. All that to say, I know these dudes.
Okay.
I know them personally. When I speak about something, I'm not necessarily taking in consideration like everything that you took into consideration.
Sure.
Right? I'm not thinking about what he said in the song. I'm not thinking about what he said on that song. I don't think about it that deeply. If I did, I would hold everybody to that same account. And like I said before, you mentioning something about people going to different regions and operating or doing songs with this person, that person, and then holding that as if it's like a strike against dude. And I'm like, every artist that I know does the same thing, even if you never heard them songs. Now, mind you, I'm behind the scenes, so I see all of the attempts and the songs. And people go down to Atlanta and try and do 100 songs with this person, or they do this and they do that, and the shit just don't work. It don't hit. It come out, it flop, whatever, right? So I'm like, that's not really a strike in my book, but in yours, it might be. But again, I don't hold criteria.
Respectfully,
with Drake.
With Drake, and I want to answer this question. I want to ask this question. Since you asked me this question, I want to make sure I follow the same line of thinking with it. In terms of going into these regions and what I see as mimicking the cultures that he's collaborating with. I gave you talked about earlier the Dallas. I gave you the Dallas example. What artists can we put up there as compared that do the same thing? That are from
the same thing.
The same thing in terms of going into that region, and you could say pay homage on one end. Somebody could say you're paying homage. Somebody else, like myself, would see that and say that looks like you're mimicking, or that you're quote unquote black facing that culture, where they're from, how they talk. And then when you see the compilation videos where people would slice up all the different regions he goes to, and then he takes on the UK drill acts, and he takes on, he goes to Jamaica. He has this way he's talking. He goes to Texas. He's talking this way. He even back in the day, I used to say, like, people say this is the New York Drake. I'm like, no, that's the Joe Budden Drake, because we know how much respect he had for Joe Budden as an OG. So when I look at this, I'm like, what other artists have done it to that degree? And if they have done it, let me just ask you to answer that. What other artists can you think of that have done it that way?
Lil Zane, Ja Rule. If we talking about Pac,
okay,
right? Like, yeah, like
Lil Zane, Ja Rule.
Like, I mean, he sounds just like Tupac. That was his stick.
But there's a difference.
But hold on, let me do it.
That's important. That's important because you said he sounds like. I'm not talking about sound. I'm talking about literal visual presentation. Right.
Lil Zane used to wear the bandana on his head, just like Pac.
Right.
Ja Rule in the Holla Holla video, same thing. Bandana, and just so we're clear, Ja Rule's my favorite rapper. I love him to death. I would beat niggas up for Ja Rule.
You could have gave me 50 answers. I never would have guessed that.
But Ja Rule, see how it works? When I say Ja Rule, who I listen to Ja Rule. I'm not listening to super lyrical niggas, right? I listen to Ja Rule.
Can I don't want to cut I don't want to derail your point, but why is that? Because you're not the first person I heard that. Jid say that. I heard him say that. And he's, to me, I categorize him as that.
Hold on, we can get to that.
Right.
Right it down. Let's get through this other piece.
Please.
I mentioned like Ja Rule used to wear a bandana tied across his head, just like Pac.
Right.
Right. Out of what? Out of Homage. He got Pac on his album, the Pain Is Love album. He got a song with Pac.
Right.
He got a verse from Pac. They was able to put it together. He got the cosign from Suge. Because remember, Murder Inc. and Death Row and Suge was homies.
Right.
Right. I don't know if it was on the B side, but whatever it was, right? They was click. Them two right there. At one point, Ja Rule. Right. Ja Rule was the Drake. He was the K. He was the biggest artist.
I agree.
In hip hop.
I agree.
Right.
It's no denying.
He wasn't the nicest. He wasn't the most lyrical, but he was the biggest dude in hip hop, and everybody knew that it was like a Tupac thing. He had a reverence for Tupac, and we was cool with it. Right.
Right.
So that's them two off top. And we can keep going. Big Crit sounds like Pimp C.
But sounds like
Sounds like
it's so much different than going into a space and pandering though. I don't. Right.
Big Chris from Mississippi. He's
Right.
got songs with UGK. Bun B co-signed it. Okay. I'm not speaking out of hype. I'm not speaking out of theory. I'm not speaking like I'm making up stuff to answer your question. These is facts. We can go play the songs. You can go look at the videos. You can go look at the interviews. You can ask them what their influences are. And they're going to tell you, oh, my influence is Pimp C. Oh, my influence is Tupac. Right?
Right.
So we ain't got to get through every single person, because if we did that, you would have to be pulling we can get so granular and say, well, who did such and such get his metaphor style from? And I'll say, oh, from Fab. Hear me out. I'm just saying, for example.
I get where you're going. I don't want to cut you off, but I just it feels like we keep we get there and then we kind of circle around it. And what you're saying has a lot of great context and is necessary. But this is not a conversation of just sound. This is a conversation of absorbing one's culture. And the whole premise of this video was the person who's been doing the most absorbing blatantly, what I feel like in a disrespectful way, even when I see the Sexy Red situation.
Listen.
To give them the 1/3 of reasonable doubt is crazy to me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't want to keep cutting you off.
Right.
I understand that. You made that super clear to me. You talking to me now.
I'm not talking to you. I know, brother. I know.
You said that like 5 times. Like, I understand that. I get that. Okay. Let me give you a little bit of not defending Drake, but just a little bit of, there's 2 sides to every story.
Of course.
And you can't have the full story. I know you can't, because you're not Drake. I can't give you the full side of the story. That's why I'm not defending dude. I'm giving you my position. You asked me for examples. I was gonna say, okay, where's Drake's father from?
From Texas, correct?
Let's look. We ain't got to guess, and we can just see. I thought he's from Tennessee, from Memphis.
From Memphis, okay.
Right? Am I making that up? I don't want to like.
We can look it up.
I want us to be clear, right? Like, where's Drake's father from?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay, so Drake's father is from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Is it possible that Drake might have visited his father in Memphis, Tennessee one time and spent his summers?
Sure.
And while he was down there, he was potentially listening to 3-6 Mafia on the radio, or
of course,
Project Pat.
Of course.
Or listening to, is it possible?
You heard that from So Far Gone. You heard the influences all there, but the conversation is not the sound. That's the thing about it.
You say he's pulling from culture. You mentioned Block Boy JB. Where's Block Boy JB from?
From Memphis, correct? Yeah, Memphis. Block Boy JB's from Memphis.
So Block Boy JB's from Memphis. Drake has Memphis roots. Drake does a song with an artist from Memphis, but Drake somehow is hijacking the culture of a city that he has roots in.
I understand.
Make that make sense.
But it's not the only place, though. Like we're zeroing on this one place that he does have roots too. But that doesn't explain the multiple areas that he does that in. Okay. That just because if that's the case, does he have roots? Atlanta. Oh, yeah, Atlanta's a big one, right? Let's get to that one.
We get that one on the table. I actually make that make sense for me. You had a look where it's like, right? Let's talk about Atlanta.
Okay.
How many people go to Atlanta to record?
Many, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Where are they from?
All over, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. How many people go to Miami to record?
Oh, everybody go to Miami to record.
Everybody. From where?
From all over the world, but really all over the U.S. Any place where hip hop lives, they're gonna find their way. Especially if they want one of them records, they go down there. Yeah, go to Miami.
They go to Miami. Miami, Atlanta has a history of studios, producers, right? Artists, writers, top line writers, right? That aren't from Atlanta. There's so many people from Chicago and Atlanta right now, it's crazy. I give you an example. Cap One. You remember Cap One?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where Cap One from?
Lupe, I'm gonna look this up.
Okay.
But my question
where's
is,
where's
why?
Cap One from?
But my question still hasn't been answered, sir. Like, because I still got other stories I got to do. Plus, our AC is broke up here, and I want to make sure that I respect your time, and I gratefully appreciate you here. But it was literally like 2 questions. I want to respect where's Cap One from, but I'm understanding where this line of thinking is going. Because
I want you to realize something, that you're talking to me.
I know you're talking to Lupe.
Let me finish. I'm very thorough. I'm very detailed. I'm not a headline dude. If somebody has a conversation with me, we're going to get into all the nooks and crannies. It's not just going to be a quick, hey, satisfy my question real quick. Let's keep it vague. Like, I don't do that. I don't do vague verbiage. Like, I get into the details. If you say something, I'm going to give you 3-4 examples. You know why I do that? It's because I'm a teacher.
Absolutely.
Like, I teach rap.
My father's a professor, so I'm very familiar with the way it goes in.
So I'm
sure.
I apologize for being somewhat long-winded or for being somewhat interrogative in my piece. But when people make accusations about me, I want to get to the nitty-gritty to explain it from so many different ways that it's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Even if at the end of it you still disagree with me,
mm-hmm.
the hope is that you have a better understanding of where I'm coming from, me specifically, because I'm not like the rest of these niggas. Right. So Cap One, he's from Chicago.
Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles, it says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Atlanta, Chicago, or Los Angeles. Who is his main guy?
He's under the imprint of 2 Chainz.
2 Chainz. Influencing each other.
Sure.
Right? Going back and forth. Cap One's super duper lyrical. One of the best lyricists, right, the city's ever birthed. Right?
Right.
Had his career, had his moment. There was a certain like realization where it was like, he's still popping, but his pen is probably dope best lent to ghostwriting for these dudes, or going down here and being in the same space with this person or that person, right?
Right.
There's so many stories of people going to Atlanta, right, to kind of find their sound. Give you another example. When you go to Atlanta and you're down in Atlanta, you're down there for 2 months recording your album. Where you think you're going? You're going to Magic City.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to the clubs, right? Why are you doing that? Because in Atlanta, that's where you have to break your records.
Sure.
At the club. And if you from Atlanta, when the same question that the label's gonna ask, do you got your city popping? They're not gonna say the radio. They're gonna be like, do you got Magic City popping?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you got those clubs popping? Migos talk about it, right? Recipes Take Off. They like, we would go to the studio, play our songs, and take them to the club. If it worked in the club, it worked. If it didn't work, we went back to the studio. Right? That type of work ethic, that type of piece, people get caught up in that. So that's why I was like, oh, you need songs. When we talk about making a song that work in the club, we talking about it started his life in Atlanta.
Okay.
That goes for a ton of records.
Right.
Right? Does it work in a club in Atlanta? Can such and such DJ spin it in Atlanta? If it cracked there, then we're going to start it there, and then we're going to take it nationwide. Because at least we know it worked. So certain places are proving grounds.
Sure.
Right? For success as an artist. If you're trying to go national. If you're trying to go international. So there's steps to it. Those steps are normal. Those steps aren't some like weird mutant. But don't get me wrong. There's people from Atlanta who don't fuck with that. They don't want dudes coming in, and because there's only so many bitches, right? There's only so much money, right? We want to preserve this for our piece. Same thing in Texas, same thing in LA, same thing in Chicago. Chicago is a city full of haters, right?
In your opinion, could that, I mean, I don't want to go to the next direction, but I do want to make sure we kind of bring this to a landing spot. Do you think that's potentially a reason why there's what they keep saying 20 v 1 in Atlanta, with so many artists who have echoed the same complaints that we're covering in this actual content, and that they're exchanging stories amongst each other and saying, he did this with you, he did this with you. Is that a possibility?
He did this. Yeah, he did it with you. He took it from you. He took it from
also, is it a possibility? You told me stories about the October Very Own mixtape, and I looked it up, and from what I saw, are you talking about the 2006 era is when you're talking about is it possible also that he wouldn't be the first one, where as he's gained more power, talking about Drake, as he gained more power, as he got around new influence, I'm sure he's feeling himself because he's been that guy for 15 years in a lot of people's eyes. Could it be possible that the person that you knew then could be detached from the person that exists now, which would explain? You didn't know?
I didn't know him then. Let me give you another. And I want to get back to your point. Why did I mention Drake?
Right.
Why sell it to Drake? As the second point.
Okay.
Right. You should keep it. I don't think it should be for sale. Why should you sell it to Drake? We get to that.
Mm-hmm.
I give you a reason why Drake shouldn't fuck with me. With me. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready for that.
I had a radio show back in Chicago called F&F Radio. It was out of the Illinois Institute of Technology, where Virgil Abloh actually went to school. That's how me and Virgil Abloh met.
Right. Was at the school.
He went to school there. He had a radio show there. The guy who ran the show, the guy who ran that, because we were bubbling in the streets, had mixtapes, stuff like that. Kick Push was out. He was like, yo, y'all want to do a radio show? So me, my man Bishop G, these two white girls, and Virgil did this radio show. Now, my man Bishop G is a co-host. He an asshole, right? I'm pretty cool, as you can see. Well, my man, he like, man, fuck that, man, shit better. But that was kind of our good cop, bad cop.
Right.
We used to take call-ins. Okay, you ready?
Right.
So this like 2005. Remember, the OVO mixtape came out in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So this like 2005. Maybe late 2004, but I want to say 2005. Somebody calls into the show from Toronto. And it's like, hey, yo, check it out. My man's, he got a song where he did a freestyle over Kick Push. You should check it out. Y'all should play it on y'all show. My man Bishop G was like, man, fuck that. We trying to get on ourselves. We ain't with no niggas trying to jump on our shit. And hung up on him. On my mama. This really happened. On my mama.
Right.
On my father's. He was talking, that was Drake's freestyle to Kick Push.
Mm-hmm. I remember that era too. Mind you, I'm 39, so I remember this specific era that you're talking about. Yeah.
So imagine one of Drake homies calls the radio station, because it's Lupe, and the response that he gets is from my man, fuck that. We on our shit. We don't need no niggas. We trying to get on. What the fuck is wrong with you? He's saying it kind of jokingly,
right?
But at the same time, too, he's saying it with a little bit of kind of like vitriol in his voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that's Drake's man. He hears that shit on air. And it's like, damn. Like, that's crazy.
Okay.
So it's more ammunition for the nigga not to fuck with me or have a certain way of looking at things. And you can hear it in his music. Like, who he talking about? Like, all these niggas it seems like he had a rough journey. But it's like, no, he had a silver spoon in his mouth. But all his music, he talking about, like, he had a hard time coming up. He had a hard time coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Niggas treated him like this. Never fucked with him. Niggas this. Now we made it. Fuck these niggas. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, is he talking about me? Like, am I in that same pool? Because Bishop G definitely hung up the phone on the nigga who called from Toronto talking about he had a freestyle over Kick Push. And that had to be Drake.
Right.
So he probably got more ammunition and reason not to fuck with Lupe than niggas would think, and probably held it in all these years. Like, nigga, cool, but I remember your man hung up the phone on me, but now look at me now type shit. Right?
Yeah.
Why do I think it should be Drake?
Yeah.
Even though I don't think it should be sold at all.
Agreed.
To your point.
Agree.
He does have a history of buying hip-hop memorabilia. right? Hey, for real. Again, I know for real. That's my man's.
Mm-hmm.
That's like my man's. We're in a rap group together. Like we have songs together, and that's my man's. He hits me up and what's up. Why the chains even for sale?
Okay.
Right. We know about the Pocket State, right? Did you know about the Death Row estate? That shit was just sitting in a storage unit somewhere?
I heard rumblings of that, especially when things started getting sold off. I definitely caught wind of that.
And niggas stopped, whoever had it, stopped paying the storage fees.
Yeah.
And they auctioned all the shit off, and somebody came in and bought like the whole shit. I don't know for how much, but it's an auction, so it could be $100 because you don't know what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
A motherfucker could have potentially bought all of the Death Row estate, and they had masters in it when they eventually cracked open the storage unit.
Mm-hmm.
They had like Suge Knight suits and like all this kind of shit that was left over from when the Death Row was liquidated.
Yeah, it wasn't handled well. It wasn't handled well, and those who were in position should have stepped up before someone from Canada. I'm with you.
Hold on. We don't know what was in it, right? I'm talking about specifically Death Row. I ain't even talking about the Tupac estate because I don't know where that ring came from.
Sure.
Right? I don't know where the car was. I'm just saying here's instances of, first, why is it for sale? Secondly, who's actually in charge of handling the hip hop estate?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Two, who can, and going back to Drake, who can actually afford it?
Okay.
And this was like the piece that a lot of niggas don't want to talk about. And I'm cool talking about it. Lupe Fiasco cannot afford it. I ain't got it like that. Right. I'm an independent artist who y'all seen get blackballed, right? Who are niggas, you see it now, niggas talking about they not coming to the show, they not buying my album. So where do you think this shit coming from? I'm not in the streets no more.
Right.
Like, this is my hustle. I have a regular job at MIT that pays only so much. I do not have enough money in my bank account to spend on buying whatever Dame is going to charge for a third of Reasonable Doubt. I ain't
only imagine what that's going to be. Right.
And I know 100 other niggas that don't. Right? That ain't got it. As much as you want to play around, like Spotify only plays 0.000 point cent, nigga. Like, and you need 1 million of them bitches to make 1,500. No way. Right? Hold on. Right. So first, I ain't got it. Just to throw me off the table. Sure. Lupe don't have it. If Lupe had it, I'd have bought it and gave it back to Dame.
Off the strength, yeah.
Right? Who has a history of actually collecting hip-hop memorabilia of people that we know? Whether you hate them or love them. Who has that record?
I don't know the history of his collection of hip-hop memorabilia. You'd have to give me more context. You're talking about Drake.
I'm not talking about, let's remove Drake from this.
Right.
Who do we know publicly that has a history of collecting specifically hip-hop memorabilia that is a rapper?
You'd have to educate me on that because I don't know who has collections like that.
That's it right there.
Right.
That's the answer. You don't know.
Right.
Because we don't know anybody.
Well, there's entities like the Hip Hop Museum. There's entities that I would much rather that be in the hands of someone that is going to not weaponize it.
Who did I say that Dame should give it to?
Nobody. You think you should keep it? You said Drake afterwards.
Nope. Go back to the text. Go back to it. Let's keep it a buck.
What am I missing? So you said, am I starting off with the part where you said at Champagne Pop, you will keep it safe for generations to come?
Yep. Keep going.
But also on some savage shit, either donate it to a museum for safekeeping.
Stop right there.
There it is.
There.
Okay.
Stop right there. Donate it to a museum. Well, which museums, Lupe? Hold on. Which museums, Lupe? The Universal Hip Hop Museum in the Bronx that I actually work with. Then my friend, the architect, who also teaches, and I do his architecture camps. He uses hip hop as a framework for people to come into architecture through.
Mm-hmm.
Donate it to them, or if that's too much of a funky thing because things get weird,
mm-hmm.
the National American History Museum, that big museum down in DC, they have a whole section of hip hop.
Okay.
They got concert banners from Public Enemy. They got Andre 3000's outfits from when he did that tour when they came back, did the tour. He had just the black jumpsuits with the little phrases written across the front. You remember those, right? I think they got shit from like JJ Fad. Like they got all this memorabilia in there, and every rapper that you can name is written on the wall, right? It's dope as fuck. So there's entities that were like, yeah, or donate. I didn't say donated to the Field Museum. I should have been a little bit more clear, and that's my bad. But I said on the follow-up, because this ain't the first time I'm having this conversation.
Right.
Donated it to the Universal Museum.
Can I ask you one question?
Right.
Can I ask you one question to miss it? Because this is perfect timing. Then why not Kendrick instead of Kanye? Excuse me, Kendrick instead of Drake. Why not mention Kendrick? He has the bread to do that.
Let's back it up. I just asked you, who do we know that has a history of buying hip hop memorabilia? And we're gonna and I'm glad you brought up Kendrick, because we need to go back in time on this same subject with this same album like 5 years ago, or maybe even longer than that. But
well, you're not
again. You didn't know.
I don't want to go too far back, because I got stories. I got this is one of my professions that I must do. This is a beautiful opportunity, but at the same time, I do feel like I've been respectful in terms of this is my platform, and I say this with all due respect. This is my platform. And I've allowed you to have the opportunity to really just hijack this whole conversation. I invited you, first of all. Let this be known. Anybody in the chat who's having any issue about this, I asked him to be on here. I invited him. So this is me. And he said yes. And I'm grateful for your time. But at the same time, I do feel like I wish this would have been in a different circumstance where it was more planned.
Did Dame Dash offer to sell it to Kendrick?
No, he put it out there for the general public.
No. Google it.
Did he offer?
Google it right now.
Okay, let's look at it. So
yes,
the question is, did Dame Dash offer to sell share to Kendrick Lamar?
A tweet's gonna come up.
You talking about, but you and I know that's not the way business is handled, though. You don't, and especially why would you choose the medium in which this person doesn't ever use social media? I'm sure there's better channels to get this kind of that can't be the
Dame. You talking to Dame right now? You're not talking to Lupe. The critiques you're having are for Dame Dash, right? Now I don't. It's your platform. I want to be respectful. I feel like you feel like I'm disrespecting you a little bit. I apologize for that. Right, but again, we answering the question. The first question that you asked, you asked me how come I didn't mention Kendrick instead of Drake. I was waiting for you to say that,
okay, so
I could say, did Dame offer it to Kendrick? Yes or no?
He did through Twitter. But why does Lupe then take that?
Wait.
And that's the part that I'm not like that. Dame did the way Dame. I don't have him here to talk about it, and I know he don't like chatty patties. I don't want to be a chatty patty in this context. I
know.
So for you, I just look at this and just to kind of picture this. I just want to paint this a little, just a little bit, because you're not giving me an opportunity to even say anything. And I've been have I not been a gracious host? I've listened to every point, even when I felt like we weren't necessarily getting to it. I've been a gracious host, sir. I just want to say this. It seems, and this is what the context of my story was going to be that I was building today. It seems to be that there is this, what I describe as a passive aggressive at times approach.
It's different. That's different. I don't mean to cut you off. That's different. That we can get into my relationship with Kendrick. Right now we're talking about Drake.
But see, this is why it has to do with this, though. This is why. You got to let me finish this point. I want to land this. It has to do with that, because then this can be perceived. Is you think it's fair?
Matter how it's perceived.
But this I know you're telling me, but I'm saying this is the context of what we're having. The question is about. It can be perceived that this being another shot.
I get that. I understand
at Kendrick in the midst of some very confusing conversations and things that have been said about Kendrick.
Right, but that's your perception.
Sure.
And we can get into every single one of those instances. But right now we're going on the instance that you first had, and I understand that that's your perception. Hold on. I know you're finna get into it. I understand that's how you feel. You asked me a question, right? I'm answering the question. It took a while to get around to it, but now we're here. You asked me, why didn't say Kendrick instead of Drake? So I said, did Dame Dash offer it to Kendrick? You said, yeah, but it's on Twitter. Okay. Dame follows it up with offering the same thing on Instagram. I think they both whack venues to peddle this, right? Our Mona Lisa, I think, is whack to do it on Instagram and Twitter or TikTok or Vine, or if you want to go back to MySpace, like, it shouldn't be on none of that shit.
Okay.
Always, but that's a critique for Dame. My follow-up is, did Kendrick buy it?
No.
How long ago was that?
Talking about the tweet that Dame Dash had for Kendrick?
Yeah, it's dated. How long ago is that?
This is July 24th. This was published on, oh no, this is something else. This is announces the share. This is not to, this is going back in history. July, what is it? June 7th, 2024 is when that was published.
When that tweet went out, or when
that tweet
where you published? Okay. Did he buy it?
Here's the thing about it. He didn't buy it. No, he didn't buy it. But
all right. So,
we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. As a viewing audience, we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. It's just that when you interject yourself into the conversation in a public manner, this is where channels like this that cover hip-hop news will look at that and say, put this in the light and say, well, why?
Right. I'm telling you why. I'm here.
Under the criticism. I'm just giving you context. I'm not questioning the things we've already covered. I'm saying in the light of things, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, based upon the questions I've asked, I feel like I still don't have the answers to it. I feel like I have answers to a lot of important things, and I don't know if we're going to get to those today. Matter of fact, I don't think we're going to get to those today.
Right. So Drake is the only person in rap that is a rapper who's known negatively or positively for collecting hip hop memorabilia.
Okay.
Right. The first instance that I know of Drake collecting hip hop memorabilia was before he was even famous, before he was even rapping. Well, I don't want to say that he wasn't rapping, because I don't know. He's been rapping since he was 10 years old, right? When he bought the microphone from the Clips that somebody was selling, right? Because he was a fan of the Clips.
Right.
Right? Whether he's a fan of the Clips now or not, that doesn't really matter to me, right? But that just, okay, cool. He bought that. He bought Pharrell's chains. He bought Tupac's ring. And this is all pre his back and forth with K-Dot. Right? So I know a ton of rappers who collect Rolexes. I know dudes who collect, look at Rick Ross's car collection, is insane, right? Like, I collect little random skulls and different things from around the world. I know rappers with collections of things.
Sure.
Right? I own one of what's his name? I own Rick James. I got a sword from Rick James' family. They gave me his samurai sword. I'm looking at it right now, right?
That's insane.
So,
right.
I understand people have collections, but I don't really know too many people, if at all, that collect, that are rappers of note that have hip hop collections.
Right.
I started to collect things from class, right, for my archive at MIT. So I've collected vinyl from different periods. I collect all of the rap snacks, stuff, anything that has to do with material culture. I collect the Travis Scott boxes, stuff like that. I try and only wear sneakers that are made or designed by rappers. So I collect Yeezys and I'm waiting on my Red Octobers from Ye and some other things, right? So I understand that, and it's cool because it's now I think we're respecting the material culture of rap and hip hop, and that we actually have people that are able to afford it, which is what I brought up earlier, right? And afford certain things. Certain things are of a certain value and a certain caliber where it's we're not gonna be able to buy that.
Right.
Right. It's certain things that have already been lost. Right. So MF Doom's rhyme notebook. Right. One of the people from the label who the family's that dude shouldn't have it. We want that back. Right. The Martin Shkreli Wu-Tang album. Right. Where it was nobody bought it. Right, except this dude from a pharmaceutical company.
Right.
So whether you agree with Drake or whether you don't agree with Drake, just to be clear, I don't have a problem with Drake. I don't have the same problems and like critiques of Drake that you do, right? I don't. I just genuinely don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at him that deeply to have those critiques because I don't look at Drake as a leader of me. Like I don't look at him as affecting my personal day to day, or I don't look at him as being like injuring in the layers in the area of culture that I work.
Sure.
Right. He's not that deep.
Well, can I say this? Can I say this? Because I feel like it feels a bit of a shot to me. It does feel like a shot to me because I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is not. I'm not a media takeout. No disrespect to what they do. I'm not a media takeout. I'm not somebody that gets on here and is looking for juicy gossip to talk about. I started this channel. All up and down this channel, all you see is a history. After I walked away from the traditional industry, I got in a space to guide independent artists as I guided myself through this journey. I've had a very unique process, a very unique journey in which I've learned from a lot of OGs in this game. And I've been grateful to be able to make a full-time living. This is what I do in addition to my music. I get to do this in which I cover stories that support my tribe of DIYers, of independent artists. These stories are relevant because there are artists who are operating in this space and this culture who have no context of a lot of the stories we just talked about. So I think these stories are very important because, one, it's barbershop talk. If I would talk to this about my friends, to my homies, easily, we would have the same conversation. We can have the same conversation live. So this conversation comes up in that I am leading the way and talking to a lot of independent artists that are trying to understand, who may or may not be of this culture, trying to understand what is the value of culture. Why is this potentially problematic? Because maybe they don't have all the same context that you've laid out of a Drake. So I am passionate about this because I'm passionate about independent artists. This is a part of the work I do. I salute the things that you're doing at MIT because I saw the course. I saw the one that you have online. And I hear the passion and detail that you talk to your students with. With me, this is not a passion about Drake. This is about a passion of a culture that I feel like he has done things within that I don't agree with. Things that me, Curtis King, Dwan, will categorize as colonizing behavior. I have covered these things. Matter of fact, I got other things that after we have this conversation, I'm still going to bring up that I feel like, well, now you're playing with the culture. When you have, when you hear him with, and I don't know, rappers say a lot of crazy shit in their lyrics, but when you hear him talk about those very chains of Pharrell and wanting to, threatening to melt them down. Right. When you're using the ring of a dead man and you're sitting here on a Family Matters video and you're kind of throwing around and kind of a one up on your competition, when you're using the fucking voice of somebody that so many of us have respect for coming up, especially out in the West Coast, of a Tupac, and you keep playing with the culture. Now I look at this and I'm like, not only is it him, but his fans are mimicking this behavior. Somebody just had it on Twitter where I'm going to react to this, where he released a new song. Shout out to him. Keep going. You're supposed to do this. This is your career. This is your business. UMG for sure wants you to do this. But the issue is this. Now his fans, one of the biggest outlets in Toronto, this 6 State of Mind or something like that, they had 2 slides. One slide said, new song, Kai Cenat premieres it. The other slide says, all Kendrick can do is rap from the perspective of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
Once again, that is not solely Drake's fault, but I feel like that playing in the face of the culture has been something that he has done. So I'm passionate about, first of all, I'm passionate about my ethics as a man. Second of all, of course, within the context of this culture that I love and revere and respect. So when I see folks that I have a high respect, even since a youngster, you talked about how Jay-Z was influential. That's what Pac was for me. So when I see with somebody playing, you got a toilet where you piss in it and it plays California Love, I feel like you're playing in the face of people, of a culture. You're playing in the face of folks with trauma from out here too. So don't confuse my passion as like uncontrolled anger or something like that. I'm just
I'm not saying you off the hinge. I'm not saying that's you specifically, right?
Right.
But a lot of people who just don't fuck with Drake.
Sure.
Right? And they have their reasons. They can put them together very eloquently, and attach a historical kind of narrative to it, like you just did, and walk through all the steps and contextualize, but also conveniently decontextualize, right? Where it's like they're battling, right? All fair in love and war, right?
Sure.
One rapper can expose your your son that you've been trying to hide from fame,
These are facts.
right? And you can, okay, I bought your homie's chains, I'm gonna melt them down, right? You can contextualize all the pieces, right? You the one that first said we finna shoot, you know, I got the switches and fuck everybody, it's just me, like all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be like, okay, all fairs in the battle space or not, right? Tupac eviscerated Biggie, right?
Right.
And we didn't know what the fuck was going on. To keep it a buck,
Right.
we kind of knew it was kind of beef, but to that level, it was like, damn, right? So, I mean, there's, like, to your point, there's things that go on behind the scenes that we won't be aware of. We don't know those conversations. I can't speak to any of those issues between him and Future and Metro and stuff like that. I'm not tapped into that barbershop conversation. I'm not media takeout. I don't follow the shade room. So I don't know what that is, right? To the point that I haven't listened to any of the records beyond and I keep saying this, and people just find that really hard to believe. And I know that's one of your questions.
Because you're in school, you're a dog. You're one of the most elite fucking MCs of all time, bro. I don't say that loosely. I don't say that because you're here. I said that earlier.
Let me ask you a question. How did I get that way?
I'm sure that you were a product of studying. You're a product of practice. I just listened to one of my favorite recent songs about you is Rockefeller, and you said this thing is all pattern and pause, and like that was something that it wasn't about how deep it was. It was the fact that you were showing while doing, and to me that is a master of your craft. But that comes from studying. That comes from being a student of the game.
Right, but it also comes from discipline.
Discipline, absolutely.
Right, it also comes from being able to control yourself and being very intentional with what you do and what you listen to and what you don't.
Sure.
So it's a lot of things that I do not listen to intentionally from a practice standpoint because I don't want to be influenced by it.
I get that. As an artist, I get that.
There's other things that I listen to habitually,
mm-hmm.
and not even for entertainment value, purely for practice. Right? I don't even think the shit is good in terms of like, this ain't a good song, but this 18th bar right here,
mm-hmm.
I need to learn how to do that. So part of, and I've explained this in spaces and many times, and people don't believe it. Like, I haven't listened to it beyond, I listened to Push-Ups, I listened to Ross's response, and then once I heard like what was going on in Ross's response, I tapped out. And I tapped out for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I didn't like the way it was going. Two, I had shit to do. And then in a more personal piece that kind of relates to one is I can see where this is going to go. And I just don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't like all that back and forth. Like, yeah, I get it's hip hop and you this, you that. But it's like, I can teach hip hop without the battle raps. Like, even in my class, my students aren't allowed to use violence or speak on violent things or anything that would insult a fellow classmate.
Okay.
Right? There's ways to participate in the culture without having to get into dissing people or and you can do it, and that's fine if that's your case, but you finna fail this exam though, right? So I think it can be taught, and I think that you can still participate and not have to not be expected to participate in every single little back and forth or little diatribe between folks, no matter who they are. Kendrick, Drake, Jay-Z, Nas, like whatever. Like, you don't have to, you don't get a badge or some type of stamp, at least from me. That may be different from other folks in the community and the culture you came up through or not. Like, you know, I don't think that it's necessary for you to be able to participate in this culture, be aware of what's going on in this culture, and still have to be up on every little back and forth and beef. With that said, like, Pac is dead. We talking about Pac. Pac died because of a beef.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as we sitting here like, oh, he disrespected the ring or he did that in California Love and this, that, and the third, like, Pac is dead and Biggie is dead because of a beef, because of some songs. And yes, it's deeper than that. It's more complex. Street
politics that are definitely involved in that one that are playing out right now. But
and everybody that we're talking about right now, everybody, as much as we might think Drake is a ladies' man, as much as we think Kendrick is a politician and a cultural leader,
right?
They're surrounded by gang killers.
So why listen to Drake's Push-Ups then?
No. I listened to it because it was like, oh, we going. Like, okay, let's listen to this record. Okay, cool. Bop, bop, bop. That shit was dope. So I'm in the same game as you in, right? Sit down, listen to it. Cool.
Right.
Ross come back with his, right? I'm like, oh shit, this nigga talking about you can smell the cocaine exhaust from there. I'm like, this shit groovy, right?
Right.
But then I hit her like, if it's G shit, when you see me, check me. And I was like, okay, hold on. Okay, hold up. And I know Ross. So again,
sure,
I know Ross.
You have context.
So I'm like, all right, okay. And then it's like, is Doc gonna bust? And then it's like 2 weeks, or how long before he dropped a joint?
It's about 2 or 3 weeks, yeah.
So within that, I kind of was like, all right, I think you're ready to put Samurai out. I'm finna go over here. I'm finna do this. I'm finna wrap up this last end of another school year. And even with the Ross piece, it's like, I don't like where this finna go.
Right.
Right. And then when you get when the shit do drop, Drake do the AI piece, and he kind of egging them on. I kind of listened to a piece of that purely just because it was like some AI shit, and I wanted to see what he was doing.
Right.
Right. 'Cause he was working on an AI project at MIT. Couldn't use it because it's like it's part of this beef thing. And what did I tell my students? Like we not getting into that.
That's not part of it. Right.
Right. But here's an example of somebody using AI in a certain way and pa. So I'm covering it for maybe technical reasons, but I didn't really dig into it. You still don't get a KDOT response for another few like weeks or whatever. But then once you see what's dropping, and I'm picking up on what like guys like you and different folks, Twitter, Instagram. Oh, he said this, he said that, he said this, he said that. And even with push-ups, it was a little uncomfortable, but I wasn't catching the references. So I don't know who K-Dot's wife is. Right. So I'm not picking up on, Whitney and this, that. Like, I'm just like, oh shit, just like any other fan, you got to break it down. So I'm not knowing these niggas finna take it there.
And I heard you talk in one of the spaces, respectfully. I heard you talk about where you see it going with people that you've been friends with, that you've been close homies with, that you saw the different angles this rap shit can take stuff, and it built. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go into details, but this is what I'm looking at right now. And first of all, my brother
Stack Bundles is dead. He was everybody knows Stack Bundles.
Stack Bundles, right. I want to be respectful.
He was with First 15th when he first started.
Right.
Got his career and got caught up in whatever he got caught up in. And it's one thing to be like, you hear about rappers dying.
Sure.
To be like, I'm looking at him in his casket.
Right.
And my memories of him is us spitting raps to each other in the living room in our apartment. So it hit me a little different. But go ahead.
And I don't want to be I don't want to be insensitive about this point that I'm making, because it has nothing to do with the individual in particular, but it's more so about what you do is high level lyricism. I feel like I've never seen before. I see where you say some of the people that you've been inspired by. For the first time in a long time, I'm watching 14, 15, 16-year-olds breaking down Kendrick's lyrical approach, and they're talking about double entendres. They're talking about, how all the different meanings of 616 in LA. And I'm like, as a lyricist myself, I consider myself a lyricist. I'm no fucking Lupe, but I am a lyricist. I'm like, this is exciting times. This is exciting times, because I'm like, we're living in a time where we just came out of a period of time where it was like nobody trying to hear that shit. That's depending on what circles you're in. I'm in hip hop circles. I do independent shows, and I've seen the people who respect and love it. They support what I do. But to see it be the mainstream conversation, not that we need the validation. It's not about that. But seeing this moment where somebody may look through a Meet the Grams and understand that level of lyricism, but then that may make them want to go down the rabbit hole that eventually leads them to a Lupe Fiasco who's been doing this, and leads them to an amazing fucking album in Samurai. So I understand the point of
that's a big if.
That's a bit possibly. But I tell you this. I've been doing this channel now, Lupe, for 9 years, and I've talked about everything from music production down to my own career and journey as an artist, all my work with TDE, all that stuff. I've wrote a book because of this platform. All of that stuff is beautiful. I've interviewed LaRuss. All of this is beautiful. But this was the first time in my 9 years of being on here that I had 3,000 people in here on my platform, all wanting to break down line by line what Kendrick was doing. It wasn't about the violence that may ensue, and I'm not throwing that as a shot to you. I'm saying in general. I was shocked beyond my own imagination because I thought we're heading towards Idiocracy. Remember the movie Idiocracy? I'm like, we're heading towards that. People don't care no more. They don't want to pay us for the music the way it should be. Nobody cares about the art the way it is. I was on that whole spiel, and then I started to see people change their behaviors, and it was demographics and avatars that I never would have expected to break this down. So I look at that environment, and I say, somebody who's a fan of you is going to be like, if you like that shit, wait till you hear Lupe. Wait till you hear this. This whole song is a quadruple entendre. I feel like even though that may not be everybody's journey, the fact that the conversation is a mainstream conversation to me shows a really great opportunity for dialogues like this to even exist. We wouldn't be talking right now had it not been for this situation and me reacting to something about that situation. Now, I'm with you. Right. The first thing I said before this started when I reacted to the first video, a win for me is everybody go home alive and continues to take care of their families. Because these are men before these are rappers and all of this other stuff. Take care of your families. Drake, no matter how I feel about how he's operated, I still want to see that man succeed and take care of his family and his well-being and continue to do what he does. Same thing for Kendrick, right? But at the same time, I look at this and I'm like, this is prime time for us to be talking about things like lyricism. And then this is prime time that somebody may say, you know what, I am going to take that MIT course. I was a fan of some of the songs I may take that course because of how in tune I was in this display that Kendrick showed folks in his battle.
Right. Okay. So, you know, a little bit of pushback.
Sure.
Please don't take it. Kendrick always been doing that. He always been doing that.
Context matters, though.
I'm a fan of Kendrick from Section 80, right? His lyrical proficiency and how he goes and what he's talking about. He's always been nice, right? I've never questioned that. And if it's any time that I've kind of like pushed back a little bit, it was in like, do I think he's like the super greatest lyricist I've ever heard? Like, no. Right. So I don't share the same sentiment, like you said, with these 14, 15-year-olds, because I've been studying rap for 25 years. Right. Right. So I've seen cycles come around. Right. And I understand the same way we broke down Lil Zane and Pac and Ja Rule. I can answer that same question for every rapper, even the new dudes. Right. Right. So I know where influences come from. I know where patterns come from and things that and then also I'm me. Sure. Right. And an ego shot, like you just said it. Like I'm one of the best lyricists of all time, and I do shit that you can't even do. Right. So I've been in places and saying things, and in the circles I run in, the lyricist conversation has never stopped. Right. Same. My inner circles, it hasn't. Yeah. Right. Genius was invented because of me.
I've heard you mention that before.
Right. So I understand impact and things of that nature, and I get that. But I'll say that to say, like, Kendrick has been on the same piece. He's been rocking. That's never been like in question. I think people feel like, nah, Lupe, you don't this, that, and the third. But it's the same thing I could keep throwing at you, like, man, you don't like Drake. But no, I got a pattern. You can explain it, and I'm not coming doubling back down, but it's the same piece. As much as we try and explain it, depending on the audience we're working with, it don't really matter. That's a lost cause, right? So, okay, cool. With that said, I'm for that. And just to be clear, I haven't heard Meet the Grams, and I haven't heard Family Matters. So I don't know what he's doing in those records, and I'm not listening to him, right? So, but I know, especially from the way you reacted and the way everybody else reacted, and MCs I respect reacting, he's doing what he's supposed to do. And I'm sure Drake is doing what he's supposed to do. Right? I'm sure Drake's shits ain't whack. Right? And I'm sure Kendrick's shits ain't whack. Right? With that, you see, that's what
I didn't say nothing. I had to clear my throat. Go ahead, sir.
Let's be clear, you talking to somebody who ain't even heard. I'm just making an assumption from a distance based off their past work.
Sure.
With that said, I don't like, as much as you like 14, 15-year-olds getting involved into entendre and breaking stuff down. What they breaking down is two black men tear each other down in the face of the public.
I get that point.
And if that's the motivation that we need to do to get kids interested in hip hop, with a straight face to those same kids, fuck hip hop. If that's the best we got to get you to come into this, to be a part of this craft, and that's what we finna celebrate, and that I'm supposed to feel good that you feel inspired to come and want to take my class because you heard two rappers tearing each other down, And what you breaking down is how he was really dissing his mama, and then he flipped this and he was dissing his girlfriend, then he dissed that, then he dissed their logo. I'm just guessing. He flipped it. I'm sure that all that shit is in there, right?
But
then
see, but it wasn't that. That's why context. Right. But see, Lupe, that's why like we're so surprised that you haven't heard it, because my humble opinion, I know who you are. My humble opinion in listening to this, the display, what Kendrick displayed on this is something that was showing to me the evolution of hip hop, showing me the evolution of where the craft is at right now, because it wasn't nobody calling out nobody's names. It was Kendrick giving him the opportunity to keep it as a friendly spar. Drake habitually line stepping, violating and talking about his manager and his wife and his family dynamic first. He's the first one to do that. Doing more with the whole AI voice of Tupac. And then the violation that happened wasn't even him calling out his name. He showed the many ways in which he was able to use his craft to break down in a competition his competitor. That's one layer of it that I feel like, and I get what you're saying. I gotta make sure I get this, because I'm gonna forget this point. Just be honest with you, I'm gonna forget this point. He showed that on display, and my thing is this: when I'm looking at what's the alternative for these kids to pay attention to, when I see a lot of these drill rappers from different spots, where I'm looking at like drill rappers who are not even from the areas, not even from the regions, right? When I think of somebody who I feel like is a branch off of the tree of a Slim Jesus, who came out, and I respect Slim Jesus for being the first ones to come out and be like, I ain't about that life. I just do it because it's entertainment. He said in the Vlad TV interview. When I think about the offspring of that, right? When I think about other rappers who go on Genius and say like, oh, I'm not really with all of that, I just kind of say it because it's the cool shit. When those are the people who are teaching the kids, and it should be the parents, I'm with you, it should be the parents first. When I see that is the alternative, when I see what a lot of these labels, because you and I share a lot of I've seen the talking points you have about the labels. I have a lot of content about what these labels are doing. When I see the kind of things that they're pushing upon the kids, and here you have somebody who, like I said, he didn't go in there and call up all kind of bitches and hoes and da-da-da. He broke him down in a way that feels so 2024, and Drake lost as a result of not being able to keep up with this angle of approaching things. To me, even as a historian, historians cover wars because there are historical things that have happened in the history. They were bloody. People lost family members. They lost father figures, all kind of things. They lost entire cities, but it was still documented because in the time period, this is important for us to have the context so that 400 years from now, when they're studying the brightest minds of our time, I'm including you in that, we're able to give some perspective on it. Now, I understand it as an artist. I don't even want to listen to my old shit because I don't want to be influenced by my old shit. Like, I don't want to like rub the whackness off on me. I'm in a different space now. But I look at this and I'm like, but this is such a moment in which a 14, 15-year-old, we don't have control over a 15, 14-year-old saying that beef was their their first experience to this, but they are exposed to it. And everything is not just negative in a situation. Even when I see all of these different hoods in LA coming together, the reasoning is you would hope it'll be for other reasons. It's unfortunate it happens when large figures in the areas die, then you have a truce. But when I see this kind of thing on display, it's revitalizing an entire market for artists that were told they were too regional and would never make it out. It's bringing money back out here, right? There's people that were on that stage, like I'm getting ready to interview Storm DeBarge and Tommy the Clown. Like, these are folks that now are a part of the mainstream conversation because of that. Kendrick could have easily went on that stage and said, it's just me. It's all about me and these diss songs. But he shined the light for 4 hours with his set included on all the talent that's out here. There's a lot of great shit that happened as opposed to that. But it's like, I can't expect that in the middle of war, everything's going to all be positive, right? Like this is what it, and I'm using the word loosely because obviously this is not in the context of history, but I look at this and I'm like, something is happening. I feel like I've talked to Daylight about this. I used to work at Quiznos with Daylight. I was a manager when he was back at the pit. I'd known Daylight since way back. And I remember having conversations offline saying like, bro, this is the beginning of a renaissance. And I truly believe it is the beginning of a renaissance. And this is why I'm covering it the way that I'm covering it. So when I see this, I'm looking at all this and I'm saying, dog, it's activation time. And those who are not on code, got to call it out. Got to call for accountability.
So Lupe not on code, and I understand that, right? and that's fine.
I'm
Right?
not
'Cause as
throwing a
y'all
shot
know,
at you. That's not what that was intended for.
I don't trust me, dog. I don't have an ego, so I'm not tripping at all.
But
Right?
that's not what that was intended for.
I know, I get it. But if we're not on code, we gotta call it out, right? I know Daylight too. Daylight a part of Social Society Spoken Art.
Sure.
I've taken Daylight on tour with me, right?
Sure.
Me and Daylight have freestyle battles. Like me, I know Daylight too. I know them all, right? So history is written by the victors, right? History is written by the people who won the war. Most people don't even read history, right? That's why I have to teach a rap history section in my class, right? People know their particular history, but your history is just one part. There's always other parts. Always. There's history books that go against other history books. Some history books is written from the perspective of the person who we only know about certain cultures because it was negative.
Mm-hmm.
We know about certain cultures that existed, got eradicated, got wiped off the face of the planet.
Sure.
By who wiped them off of the face of the planet because it's like they were the infidels, they were the evil ones, they were this, that, and the third. Not that they were villagers who had a passion and wanted to go here and wanted to go there and had this society and had that. It was like, no, them was the people who didn't believe in what we believe, so we wiped them niggas off the face of the planet. I get it, right? If it's war, it's war, right? But histories are also subjective, right? Histories are subjective. Archaeological sites have to be interpreted, right? It isn't just like this is what happened and this ain't what happened. Like you have to understand the language. You have to understand how things are translated. You have to understand how things were influenced by other issues. You have to understand how how archaeology and history is used to big up certain pieces and certain movements, right? Where actually the history of it is rather neutral, but it's really about the way the person wants to politic and spin that particular story and that particular history. So you establishing it as a historical piece, I understand, but you open it up to the critique of actual people who critique history, right? To a certain critical analysis of like what it actually is and what it isn't. And if it fast forwards, it's like, okay, I get it. I understand all the context. I understand all the pieces. I understand all the bandwagoning. I understand, like I said, I ain't even listened to them, but I can just at the level of skill that I have and relationship to the craft and things that I've seen over and over and over and over and over again, and being in those situations, not seeing it from a distance, like being in those offices, being in those battles, being in this, being in that, being in those hoods, being with them Bloods, being with them Crips, being with them Zoes, being with these dudes. So I got firsthand knowledge of how this stuff rocks and rolls. Being the dude at the funeral of the dude who died, right? The night Nipsey died, I was standing in front of Master Burger. Right. Dolo, throwing up neighborhood to the homies. You know, just sitting there reminiscing, meditating on the candles that was right there. I got footage from whatever Fox, whatever news helicopter out there. I could freeze frame it and point it like there go Lupe standing right there. You feel me? So when I'm saying I'm in it, I understand. I understand the importance of Grape Street and Bounty Hunter coming together. Right? I understand what that piece is. I've never knocked it. I've never knocked Kendrick's cultural importance. Ever. Show me where I did that. Show me where I was like, this is unimportant. This ain't important. This is weak. This is that. You ain't never, ever, ever seen me do that. You've never seen me take it outside of rap. You've never seen me take it out of just, I think that Drake, bar for bar, from what he's proven himself to do, I think Drake has better punchlines, but I also think that Kendrick is a better technical performer. I think Kendrick is a better artist. I think Kendrick's a better artist than me. I think Kendrick makes better songs. I think Kendrick makes this. You got all that on record if you want to hit.
I've heard that. No. When I did this research, I heard you say that. I've heard that. You've been consistent.
You can't point nowhere where you see me dissing Kendrick in that fashion, like trying to undo the work that he's done. Never. Right? You've never seen me speak on this battle, ever. There's nothing you can Google where you're gonna see me.
I got a clip here, and this is something that Hip Hop DX pulled up 3 months ago when everything kicked off, and it says Lupe Fiasco says Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. I can play that video because we were gonna react to it.
Play it. What you're gonna hear is when it comes to bars, punchline for punchline, I think Drake is a better rapper. Then right after that, you're gonna hear, I think Kendrick is a better technical performer. I think Kendrick has better concepts. Play it.
Okay, let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and share this audio so you can hear on this way as well. First of all, I appreciate everybody that is in here. I want to make sure that you understand we're having a conversation. We started this video off. This is supposed to be a normal Thursday reaction clip video, but we are joined with LUPE, the legendary LUPE, and I appreciate your time, sir. I appreciate you giving context because you don't have to do that. So
no, I have to. I have to at this point.
You don't owe me shit, but no, real shit. You don't.
I want to make sure that
LUPE, you don't owe me shit because you don't know me. You said it earlier. You don't know me.
Even at the end of the day, if you still disagree and you think whatever you think, at least you have my side of the story,
and that's important,
okay?
Right?
Okay, so go ahead, play it.
Okay, here we go.
So Lupe Fiasco thinks that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. Hey, it's Asia Sky for Hip Hop DX, and check this out. Lupe Fiasco has made a bold claim amid the ongoing rap wars, and he said that Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar. Speaking on X Spaces with A-Verb on Monday, April 15th, Lupe admitted that he has not heard Kendrick's diss verse on Future and Metro Boomin's Like That, but said that he listened to and enjoyed Drake's response track, Push Ups, Drop and Give Me 50. When asked who is the better rapper between the two, Lupe replied without hesitation,
Drake or Kendrick?
Drake.
Drake is a better rapper than Kendrick. Do you like? Okay, so is it by a long shot?
Not really. Drake got bars, which you know.
Okay.
And you know that, so you know I ain't capping when I say.
For sure.
Right. So I would give it to Drake. I think Kendrick's a better technically skilled performer, but I don't think he's a better rapper.
Perform.
Yeah, that's a difference.
So okay, so you ain't never heard Kendrick and felt like he was one of the most
Like he was what?
like
You cut
like
up,
he
bro.
was one of the most dangerous rappers?
No.
No. So Kendrick puts no.
You ain't never felt that.
Yes, I have. I felt he was very dangerous. For sure.
You felt like he was dangerous to you?
I felt like Kendrick Lamar still to this day. He's very surgical with words. Absolutely.
Dangerous to dangerous to you.
Well, no, I don't think none of y'all dangerous to me. Like you.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So that's my sentiment.
Yeah. I'm saying as far as like.
Because if that was the case, you think he'd be dangerous to you, but he's not dangerous to you. I know he's not dangerous to you.
So,
I know that.
So is he dangerous to you? Because I'm way more ahead of you though.
You way more ahead of me.
And skill, boy, you know you ain't crazy.
Skill sets.
For sure.
Okay. Who else believe that?
I do.
Who else believe that A-Verb is a better rapper than Lupe Fiasco?
I'm gonna cut it right there. So,
okay.
This is so. It's a few different layers on this one. I don't want to unpeel them all. And you did. You were consistent with what you said here, but I think people had a question of why.
I hear this. Let me say this real quick. Right? I said the exact same thing that I just said to you.
Right.
On that. Right? The exact same thing. There's other interviews where I say, hey, Kendrick is a great conceptualist. He makes better songs. He's a better artist, right? He has a better choice for beats. He has a better this. He has a better that. He makes better albums, right? But let's focus on this, because I said exactly what I just told you. You just played this clip. It said the exact same thing.
Sure. So then my question is, when those skill sets are being put to the test, 1 versus 1, why not I mean, you gave me the reason, so that didn't really have any context because you said you're working on the project. You didn't like the direction things were going when you heard some of the conversation from Rick Ross, and you've seen this before. My thing is, now they are 1 versus 1 where those type of things are on full display. Punchlines, the double entendres, all of these things are on display. And that could have very well changed in a lot of people's mind who probably felt similar to how you felt. My thing is, how could someone who teaches at MIT, who the teachers are coming to because of your elite level of lyricism, how can you deliver, and I'm not sure if these conversations ever come up, how could you deliver this without the proper context of things that have shifted the culture, that have shifted the perception that some people have of lyricism on display, for the way that people are absorbing it? Why did these certain things work? Why did this, like, these are all contextual things that need to be out there, right?
Right. You're making an assumption that the entire culture is under Kendrick and Drake. That's
not necessarily, but this is a hot topic within hip hop culture.
I get it. Hold on. I get it's a hot topic. I get that it's a big topic. But to make this statement that the entirety of the culture is under Kendrick and Drake is not true.
That's not the statement I'm making.
But you just said there's a whole generation
who are being exposed to this.
I would push back. The same way there's different regions, and there's the generation isn't a monolith.
Of course, it's not a one king rule. It's
because the same way that you got people saying the same thing you saying about Kendrick, is people saying the same exact thing about Drake.
Sure.
Okay, so that shows immediately of the same generation, the same age group, the same interests, right? Potentially from the same region, right? That are having two different sets of opinions about this situation.
Okay.
Right. When my students, because you bring up MIT and my students and me of a caliber and this, that, and the third, I've been teaching rap before I got into MIT. Just to be clear, I've been teaching and leading MCs of high caliber, including Daylight IT. Okay.
Okay.
For a very long time. So this isn't new. When my students came into my class all excited about this beef and they were asking me about it, I said, hey, we're not going to talk about that right now because you got something to do. You got work to do. Okay. But I understand like your fervor for it. Let's compartmentalize it. Excuse me. Let's not, I'm not trying to take it out of the importance or the space of importance for you. The same thing that I'm not trying to bring you over to my point of view, Curtis.
Right.
Or make judgments against you or project things into you. When my students my class at MIT is cross-registered. So students from Harvard, students from Wellesley, students from Mass Art can come in and take the class. So my class is normally MIT students and a few Harvard students.
Right.
So I had a Harvard student who took my class last year, and he came in, and the first thing he said, I know you heard this battle. Then my other student, he was like, yo, what's up with this battle, Lupe? Professor Lupe, what's going on? What you got your take? I'm like, it's very jovial. Like, hey, relax, cut it up. And when it got to a point where it was, a certain level of seriousness, it was like, all right, if we're going to talk about something, especially at MIT, we're going deep. We're not finna just do the superficial barbershop talk. We're not finna give you opinion. You're not finna give me what you think.
Right.
You finna give me the stacks. You finna give me all, because every time somebody has to turn in something in my class, they can't just turn in a song. They have to turn in a written essay about the song, all the different pieces and parts that are in it, all of the functions, what they were trying to do, how they stuck to the constraint. So it's not just you finna come into this class and tell me how you feel.
Sure.
I don't care about how. And that's just me as a professor. Right? Sure. They pay me to come in here and teach you deeply. I'm gonna come teach you deeply. If you don't like my teaching style, leave the class. If you don't like if the admin don't like my style, then I'll kick me out. But they didn't. So that's my style. That's how I teach. So that's unquestioned. Right. I have they're offering me a whole nother contract to stay at MIT, just so we're clear, even through this. And they're not the only school, right? So if you bring something to me, we going deep, period. Right? You can't find where I have said anything about this battle. Judging it, who won. There's something floating around where I said Drake. No, people are saying that because I said something about selling more records, that gives you more right to speak on hip hop. And people say that's me talking about Drake versus Kendrick. Have you heard this?
Yeah, that was a clip that we had loaded up, but I want to make sure I don't detour too much from that because I want to bring this to a close.
Right. I know. I just want to wrap. I know you need to go. Right. We weren't talking about Drake or Kendrick at all. And I got 300 people that were in that space.
Okay.
That will tell you, like during that section, we weren't even talking about Drake, Kendrick, or any rapper in particular at all. A question came about gatekeeping and who can decide who's in hip hop and who's not.
Right.
And I made the statement that if now this if is important, if you're trying to be the person who decides who can be in hip hop and who can't, then you should have a PhD in hip hop. Because if you're going to test people about how much they know about rap, and that their score on that test is going to dictate whether they can be in or out of hip hop or not, then at the very least, you, the person who's giving that test, should know more than the person you're giving a test to. If the person turns around and knows more about hip hop than you do, that don't make sense. And then they should be able to say, you got to get out of hip hop because I know such and such did this in 1979.
Right.
I know such and such did this in 1985. I know who produced this album and such and such and such and such. And you'd be surprised who those people are in the culture. It's not the rappers.
Sure.
Right. And I know this because I know them.
Right.
Right. So that's what that take was. People took that take, and because it's dump on Lupe season and everybody's still hot and passionate about this beef, and anything Lupe says is going to get twisted and projected onto either Drake or Kendrick, then it became, oh, that clip of that conversation that nobody who's talking about this conversation was actually in, it gets spun out as they were talking about Drake and Kendrick. When the truth, on my mama, on my father's grave,
right,
we weren't talking about them at all. They weren't even mentioned. And you can play that tape. You can go through the whole thing from the time that the question was asked, who asked it, all the way to the end. Their names weren't even mentioned.
Right. Okay, well, look, respectfully, first of all, thank you for your time, Lupe. I appreciate the context. I appreciate you being here and having a civil conversation. I know some of my audience is angry that I didn't cut you off more. Here's the thing about it. I asked them to be on the platform, and I want to make sure that whatever I speak on after this, first of all, I'm a man with principle. And I believe that if I have a point to be made, I want to be heard. Don't want to be cut off. I extend the same thing to whomever I'm talking about, whether that's Lupe Fiasco, whether that's the gas station attendant. That's just how I operate things, because I know because of you saying yesterday, there are going to be other people who will say yes to this platform. So I thank you for that. I still got a lot of head scratching shit I got to kind of unravel, and maybe I'll go listen back to the interview to catch the stuff I didn't catch in a moment. But I'll tell you this, I do appreciate you being so candid, being vulnerable, because you don't owe that to my platform, but you came here and you did that. I thank you. And I'm about to get back to these stories, and salute, man. Best of luck on this tour. Phenomenal project. I wish you nothing but continued success. And thank you once again for being here, bro.
And make sure y'all do them super chats. I came in with super chats. I didn't come in just commenting.
You did.
You got $6 in your pocket for Lupe Fiasco right now.
Shit, that might give me one egg. Around these prices in California, might be giving me one egg. I appreciate you, Lupe.
Look, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate your audience, right or wrong, love or hate. You know, I love when people do for the culture, the way you speak, the way you move. And we got some of the same homies, so you can do the background check on me if you need to know how solid.
I know who you are.
But keep going. I appreciate you, brother. Enjoy the rest of your evening, all right?
Same to you. Thank you again. Once again, Lupe Fiasco, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's say this first and foremost. Thank you, Lupe, for being here on the platform. That was an unexpected turn of events. Look, I'm going to just say this for myself, first of all, because I'm literally looking at the chat the whole time. And I don't know how many folks was up in here. It ain't even about that. I was really wanting to get down to it. What you guys got to understand is that when I make this content, I make this content from the context of, don't nobody know who the fuck I am, except for who know who I am. So when I make these stories, it's never from a place of, oh man, like I'm trying to like get the scoop, to get the dirt on somebody. No, I don't get nothing for that. Matter of fact, it starts to deteriorate my own platform. What some of you guys got to understand, and I understand that it took you talk about my patience. I know y'all have patience about the speed of the conversation, but salute to you for hanging out. Here's what you got to understand about me. I'm always thinking about not just in the moment, but what's going to happen the next moment. Because soon as these clips get clipped up, they're going to get clipped up. Please believe that. Somebody's going to come back here and say, yeah, I can't do that interview with you, Curtis, because the way that you was talking to Lupe was kind of wild. You kind of had no respect. My thing is, it's going to always be respect. Some of y'all may look at that and be like, you let him walk all over you. No, you wait your turn. You hear, you listen. Don't just hear to talk back. I'm listening. I'm hoping that I'm gathering everything, right? Sometimes it took me, sometimes this nigga had me going in different directions. But I appreciate having the conversation here, because you got to understand, not even a year ago, these chats had 30 people in them. What you got to understand is that not even a year ago, Shit was very different on this channel. So I'm grateful for y'all. I'm grateful we had the conversation. But yeah, there's still some questions we have. I'm going to get to the next part of this story, though. This story ain't done. What is this? 2 hours and 42 minutes? Woo, this is going to be the longest episode we ever had. But we got to get to these stories. And I appreciate you. Because you know what's crazy? Thank you. You said you're a hell of an interviewer. I appreciate that. You know what? You know people used to get on me about? Curtis, shut up. You never let your guests talk. Okay, I'll let them talk. Now you niggas are saying, Curtis, fucking talk. You're getting on my nerves. Talk, Curtis. Don't let nobody take over your platform. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You tell me don't cut them off. I don't cut them off. Then you tell me don't let them go take over your What the fuck do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? All right, I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Let me also, could you please, just for a second, take this in consideration? I don't get starstruck. I'm not starstruck in this situation. I respect bro for what he does. I think he's a legend in what he does. It wasn't on my itinerary today to come up to this 78-degree room, okay, and get on here and do stories and then talk to Lupe Fiasco. Huh? Oh, man, you need to go upstairs because you're going to talk to Lupe Fiasco in an hour. Nigga, what? That was not on my bingo. That's not on my cards today. But it happened, and I readjusted. Can Curtis King have a round of applause for just, you know what I'm saying? Jeez. Damn, are y'all proud of anything? Curtis, look at the chat. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Get him off of here. No, stop it. Been listening to this man music for the majority of my career. And although some of the answers were a little bit frustrating, admittedly so, he was graceful in the way that he talked about these things, and we talked about it. He answered the tough questions. Cool. Now we got to get back to this colonizer.
No.
We got to get back to this colonizer.
You run to Atlanta when you need a few
got to get back to that.
Of colonizer.
With all due respect to Lupe, we got to get back to this shit because I'm still confused. Let me stop this virtual cam. This shit's slowing down. I'm still confused. I'm still
Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Hey, run for your life. Hey, run for your life.
I still got questions about this freaky ass nigga. Respectfully. I'm gonna go ahead and skip over some of this stuff. You know, this is where initially we talked about this at length. I know y'all tired about hearing the story. I get it. Respect though. This is some classic shit for the CurtissKingTV channel. But this was posted back on Fig, and shout out my guy AD. He said that he's gonna come on the platform soon. That's what he told me, and he said when he get back home, we're gonna discuss some days. So shout out to him. And then also too, like you guys already heard, I've confirmed that I'm talking to Storm the Barge in August. Oh, I'm not stopping. But somebody that I wish would stop. Was this your first big interview? I'd say this was my first, not my first, but this is probably the biggest artist that I've had the honor of interviewing. And that was not on my I prepare for these things. I do research, right? That's why I wasn't as sharp as I like to be, because I didn't have time to do my research. I like to do research when I get my folks on here. But what is this shit? Huh? One more time.
You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. No, you're not a colleague. You're a colonizer. Like, what?
Back on Fig posted that fans are saying that Drake, in the midst of still playing these little tit-for-tat games, allegedly bought the Tupac car that he was shot in. This was a photo that was posted to social media. And someone in the comments, actually, I want to make sure I highlight them because I ain't trying to take nobody information. You know, we don't colonize over here. Coupe in different rims, but that's definitely some corny shit he would do. The car in Drake's pick is an E30. So I knew it was gonna be some car enthusiasts. It's like, well, actually, it's not even a car. It's an E30 with a compressor on the catalytic converter, and you can't use cheap gas. I knew it was gonna be one of them motherfuckers in there. The car Pac was in was a 7 Series. Even with that in mind, why is he still playing these games if he's over the battle? Remember Hard Part 6? Didn't he already say, you got this shit burnt the fuck out? To me, that means you're over it. You're done with it. You're done with it. So then why are you still playing? Curtis, this is a reach, man. Maybe he's just a fan of that vehicle. Maybe he's just a fan of that vehicle, right? This is the original one. Maybe he's a fan of it. Fan has different context in this. Okay, fair enough. What the hell is this? What the hell is this? What the hell is this? What's this? Hold on. Hold on, let me look at the full. What the fuck is this going on? What the fuck is what is it? Explain it. What is this? Oh, you can't see it? Let's zoom in a little bit. First of all, them pants is crazy. Why are you wearing a Tupac shirt? Where you find a green Tupac shirt? Why are you taking selfies again? But damn it, the bedazzled Timbs. Jesus.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell
At this point, he's trolling us all. At this point, he's not even trolling Kendrick anymore because Kendrick's not even on social media like that. He's trolling. What the fuck is this bedazzled shit we got going on here? You gonna look at this shit and tell me that this ain't Christopher Columbus behavior? This your favorite rapper? This your favorite rapper? I'm wearing the shirt with him on it. I bought the car. You think I did, didn't I? Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. Some bedazzled tint. What the fuck are we doing here? What are we talking about?
Freaky ass nigga here.
What are we doing right now? And I'm not look, I'm not one to talk fashion. Hey, he's a lot more fashionable than I am, I think. But what the fuck is this Tupac? What are we doing? We're still playing with the dead man's imagery to troll other people. And nobody sees the issue with that. Good conversation. Even though I disagree with Lupe on certain things. First of all, I'm gonna thank everybody who gave a super chat because y'all went crazy. I don't want you to think I'm ungrateful. I used to see that. Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. He would cook so much, he wouldn't say thank you to nobody in them super chats. And I'm like, damn, if I ever was in that position, I'll say thank you to everybody. That's cap. That's cap, Curtis. You didn't do it today. So I'm gonna say thank you in a second. Man, shout out my guy Suku. I don't know him like that, but he just followed me. And this was so in true Drake fan fashion. At this point, I don't know if I'm more irritated by Drake or his fans. But in true Drake fashion, you know how they had a Kendrick Lamar video game? The Not Like Us video game that was made by, I believe, the coder that made Fortnite. Remember how that was there? Well, they said, we could do the same thing. Boop. And this is what they did. Did you know that Family Matters now has a video game? Why?
Has anybody played the Drake Family Matters video game yet?
No.
Did you know that there was a game called Family Matters?
Yes.
Well, I'm here to tell you. I don't know if Drake approved it or not, but it's out there. And you can play it. Go to playfamilymatters.com and try your hand at feeding Kendrick Grammy trophies.
We know coders too. I hate it here.
Oh my God, it's Grammy trophies because in the song he said Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone go ahead. It's not that deep. Family Matters, the game.
Come on. That's not weird to y'all? You know, 2024 will be the year of truth and all lies get exposed, like Cat Williams said. But it's going to also be the year of glaze. I have never heard the term glaze or male fellatio to male fellatio be thrown around so much by OVO fans. But yet and still, anytime you say anything, man, I could just post up, we gonna be all right. Bro, stop glazing. Drake's still the best. Where the hell did you come from? And why is that your first argument? It don't matter what you do. But they gotta have a game. And this game literally throws metal in a grown man's mouth. And you've got to aim it perfectly to get it in his mouth.
Freaky ass nigga, he a 69 God. Freaky
Who's
ass
a
nigga,
coder?
he a 69 God. Hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life.
I put 17 trophies in Kendrick's mouth. Huh? And then what did you do with the rest of your productive day? First of all, do you know how long coding takes? Coding takes a long time. I have plugins as a producer myself. I've produced plugins, and I have my guy, man, shout out my guy Lee, who made this. Coding takes a long time, even for 8-bit shit. It takes a long time to make that 8-bit version of the music. You spent all that time, and you came into the boardroom and said, "Here's the game. I got it for you. What is it, man? Is it like, because Kendrick was part of Top Dog, so is it like, like Whamma Dog? Nah, it's even better. Kendrick opens his mouth and we shoot Grammys into it." Y'all are so sus. And then he giggles when you hit his chin. What is projecting much?
First thought off the top of the head, do all black people look alike? Because that looks nothing like Kendrick.
Hello.
Secondly, I may be biased. I'm probably biased. But it's not hitting the same.
It
It's not hitting
ain't.
like us. But I will say that 8-bit instrumental is dope. I need more 8-bit instrumentals of everything. I just want to see some. And does Richie Branson have to respond to this? Does this warrant a response? Richie Branson is the dude that created the Not Like Us video game. Are we having a video game beef now? Bit beef? 8-bit beef. 8-bit beef, nigga. Also,
No, 8-bit, I can't even say this shit. 8-bit beef is crazy. 8-bit beef, nigga. That's a gang I don't want beef from. That's crazy.
shouldn't Drake be in the video game? Because this is 2 video games now that Kendrick's in. Where Drake at?
Well,
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
sometimes hate is just a disguise for love. That's all that is. Y'all, you overyowers really love Drake. Not Drake. You really love Kendrick. You really do. Don't lie. What the hell? I want to double back to something because I didn't nail my point home because I wasn't expecting to talk to Lupe today, but that's what happened. But there's something here that seriously bothered me. And this is more on a serious tone because, we've been having more cultural conversations than probably ever because of the stakes and the way that things have been lined up. And because of what it inspires in us, right? With that said, though, Drake finally popped out and showed brothers a new song here on Kai Cenat's platform. It's by a platform called Keep Six Solid. From what I see, they're a platform based in Toronto. I don't know who runs the account, but my black senses is telling me that it ain't one of us. Look at this. So let's play a little bit of snippet. I don't want to get flagged, but let's play a little bit of snippet. Let's see what happens.
Hey.
Stop it there. So context is important. Drake gave Kai permission to show this song on his stream. Kai's demographic is still a very young demographic. If I was HR, I wouldn't suggest going there first. Going to the young demographic right now just sounds like a very weird direction right now because of how much scrutiny is being paraded around this song called Not Like Us. You ever heard it? But nonetheless, we're here. I'm going to make another point about this, but we'll talk about this.
I'm watching the moves, playing it close. SOD, super soul.
Don't hit the same.
Rainy days, his and hers, matching coat.
I don't want to play the rest of this because Kai loses his mind, and my ears, I cannot stand hearing him yell again. He said his and her matching coats, and he proceeds to go bonkers.
So big, feel like a boat, staying afloat. I'm watching the moves, playing it close.
You probably already seen it, but let's break down this caption that Keep Six Solid said. Enjoy this new Drake snippet. Fire emoji. Kendrick can only make music in the point of view of Martin Luther King. rapping like you're trying to get the slaves free. A little bit of that energy, huh? And then they proceed to put up an article that highlights Martin Luther King's supposed infidelity. It says, "We were madly in love, the untold story of MLK's white girlfriend," which is another weird ass shot at Whitney because she's biracial, which is obviously Kendrick's wife. Did y'all not learn nothing? Drake fans, did you not learn nothing? Like, this is tone deaf to black folks. This is tone deaf to different segments of culture. This is just like, why are you bringing him up in the midst of this? But I do think it's interesting what's going on here below the surface of this song. Now, the song has a sample. You know who the sample is from? It is an artist, content creator, influencer, and just a really nice fucking guy, man. Like, Mr. Hotspot is the sample that you heard in the back of that beat. If you're not familiar with Mr. Hotspot, bro, I've never met him, never had the honor of meeting him. This dude is like one of the nicest dudes on social media, right? And now we've seen it before, but I really genuinely get a good energy when I see him pop up on the timeline. That's why I follow him, right? I haven't always been a fan of the music, but damn it, this dude is just a cool ass dude. He actually got sampled for this song. Listen here. So that's the sample. I want you to get another idea of just how nice this kid is. Like he you know, I use kid loose as a grown man, but this dude is good energy. And it's been like that for years and years that I've been following him. And he's from Atlanta.
You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. Now you're not a colleague, you're a colonizer. What?
Sorry.
Why do your actions look like love? Why do your actions look like it came from above? You smile good, and I'm telling. I'm about to tell on you. I'm about to tell. Hey. They smell good.
He don't mean no harm. My boy, bro, you go to his platform, all he do is eat good ass food, tell these jokes like this, do his music, play basketball, and mind his business. Like I said, he's one of the coolest. But he's now a part of the story of Drake versus Kendrick, and he's been pulled into this. Now, whether or not the powers that be, Yachty, whoever made this idea, cleared this sample, who knows? We never know how these things are going. He himself hasn't posted about it, but that could change in the next few days after this video. But I did think it was really interesting that Drake premieres a song where he samples a young content creator. And I'm not talking about no freaky stuff. Just think about it for a second. Drake has been, as of the last X amount of years, focused on a younger demographic with his music, even to the point where Joe Budden has had criticism of him doing so, which he did not take nicely. He fired back and said, that's why you podcasting on Best Buy mics, whatever. But right now, he's sampling a social media content creator, a part of the Atlanta culture, entrenched in it, and you're rapping with Yachty. Isn't Yachty from Atlanta? Am I mistaken? Please let me know. Where is Lil Yachty from? Georgia. Maybe it's in Georgia. Okay. Where's Mr. Hotspot from? I think we already covered that. New York born, Atlanta residing dancer. So, and then, hold on, I got one last one. Where is Kai? So I'm not really familiar with a whole lot. So he's originally from New York. Where does Kai stream from? City. He now lives in Atlanta, Georgia.
You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. No, you're not a colleague, you're a colonizer.
Who's advising him right now? Who's advising him right now? Who's advising him on this is bad timing. At this point, I feel bad. I'm just like, what are you doing? Once again, here we are again. You know, I think it's been unfair, and I'm going to go ahead and take accountability. I think it's been unfair that we haven't heard much perspective from residents of Toronto speak on Kendrick, Drake, and it not be a biased post where somebody's like, I'm at what's the name of that restaurant? I'm over here eating some fried rice right now. Go Kendrick. We haven't heard many perspectives. I thought this young lady, who I don't know her name, I don't think they mentioned her name in this. I don't know why they wouldn't do that. Come on, media outlets, do a little better. But this woman speaks about where she felt like things might have went left with Drake and why she's a supporter now, or has been, of a Kendrick. I'm gonna let her cook. There's more things she talks about, but check this out. We're gonna end on this one.
Oh, very humble.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, humble.
Yeah.
But I like Kendrick Lamar because he's given us complete bodies of work consistently.
Yeah.
There's not one album you can listen from top to bottom. So
sure.
Damn is an incredible body of work for me. Love is actually my favorite song by Kendrick Lamar. Sorry, Drake, but you kind of lost me a little bit. I didn't like Certified Lover Boy. I just couldn't follow it. But for the most part, I've loved his body of work. That's Drake-wise. From Take Care, actually prior to that, More Life, up until the mixtape he had with Future.
Okay, nice. So Kendrick Lamar's your favorite rapper?
Yes. Well, he shares a spot with a couple of people. Nipsey Hussle
Shout out
as
to
well.
him. Awesome.
I like
Rest
the
in peace.
motivational rap behind him. I also like Kendrick Lamar for that. Drake used to do that. Think Now, Thank Me Later was an incredible body of work. And he had that song with Kendrick Lamar, Buried Alive. That was exceptional. The production, Noah knew what he was doing, 40 as well. So for me, TDE has always given us amazing artists. Still trying to get used to J. Cole. Born Sinner was the only album I actually, and Forest Hill Drive.
Yeah.
Let me not lie.
Forest Hill Drive, like everyone knows.
Those were, in my consideration, they were 2 platinum albums, for sure. I have a large influence from my brother, so him and I go back and forth. So it's just, I need more artistry coming out. I don't want any, it's good for the TikTok streams, but I want the artistry that we have, the competitiveness. It was nice to see them spar like this at the end of the day. But for me, as a listener and as a consumer, I just want him, Drake and Kendrick, to go back into the booth and let us have it, man.
Yeah, for
let
sure.
Us decide,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Go on podcasts and talk about these things.
Yeah, it's good for the culture.
It really is good for the culture, and I mean, he made a song, Plastic Bags. I don't know if everybody likes it. Scholarships, all that. I miss the old Drake.
Okay, awesome.
That sounds like the old Kanye.
It's all good. Thank you so much for your time. You have a great day. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You too. Take care. Bye.
She said something that really resonated with me, and I'm going to end on this note right here. Look, first and foremost, thank you once again to Lupe Fiasco, the Lupe Fiasco, for being here on the platform. That is not something I predicted would happen, but nonetheless, there's a young hip-hop fan and a young artist who has studied at sometimes the contributions of a Lupe that's fucking crazy. There's also another part of me as an adult that has been in a situation many a times where I could ultimately respect someone, but I could also respectfully disagree. And there was a lot of points that still I hold to. Context is important. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to allow him to provide that, because I remember times that things were said about me and I wasn't able to provide context. So I appreciate that. At the end of the day, I try to always think about the human beings beyond the name. That is the difference with my platform and what I plan on doing on this. With that said, though, all right, I still hold true that I think there's a lot of questionable behavior going on, especially there from what Drake is doing. We cover this because there are things that I feel like other reaction channels, other outlets are not talking about, right? One of the ones that does, my bro, Justin from The Company Man. I love the way that he breaks all of this information down, because it makes me feel like I'm not alone in these conversations. Sometimes people have very low-level conversations. I always try to dig deeper to the things that are more nuanced. And this is what I'll say. One thing that she said that really resonated with me, the young lady at the end, is that she loved Nipsey's music. She loves Kendrick's music because it's motivational. I made this prediction when we had that video that went viral that talked about Joe Budden saying the labels are deprioritizing hip hop, and he was reacting to it. I feel like at that time I said people are going to ask for music that meets them on the level that they're at, right? Men, women have evolved, right? Or whatever you identify with. We're evolving to a place where there's other categories now for some people, right? With that said, in this evolved version of being a human being, we set higher expectations for the things that we consume. We get rid of certain things when we want to have different results. It's the same thing as a diet. You get rid of certain things when you want to have a different result physically. I'm doing that now. I've been meal prepping. Matter of fact, Lupe, if I was a little bit extra irritated, it's because nigga ain't eat since 5 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock now, and I can't eat till 9 p.m. tomorrow. 9 a.m. tomorrow. 9 p.m. I'll be dead. 9 a.m. tomorrow. But I eat different things because I have a higher expectation for where I want to take my body. For those who have a higher expectation for where they want to take their mind, their spirit, their energetic space, their relationship with God, there's no way you can consume some of the things that you've consumed in the past because it's not going to move you into the future. Old habits cannot support you in that way. So with that said, I think people are asking right now in this moment. It's still, there's still a lot of ignorant shit out there. Don't get it twisted. It ain't going nowhere. And the pendulum will swing back again. But I genuinely feel like we're at a place right now where those folks are asking for something more. And at the same time, you have artists like LL Cool J who are still delivering at a high level. You have artists like Common and with Pete Rock who are delivering at a high level. We're having conversations and open dialogues because rappers now have podcasts and they're talking about things we've never seen at length. Talking about each other in ways that used to be immediate beef, now is just general conflict resolution. And I love to see that. I love to see hip hop grow the way it is and all the different segments of it. I'm not just saying that mainstream rap represents hip hop, right? Lord knows it has been in an ugly space, mainstream rap wise. But hip hop, to me, it shows how powerful that our culture is, right? Way before I was born, how this culture is very, very powerful. And I love to see that the people are asking and setting the bar higher because it means that we're going to get greater music. I have to make better music as an artist, and I'm excited about that. You mean I get to make the best music possible? It was always afforded to me, but now people are demanding it. They're expecting it. I love that. I love that. That's a great place to create art as an artist. One last request, though. In the last few weeks, I've covered a lot of light-skinned knuckles that have made me very embarrassed. For my beautiful melanated folks out here, I'm black. Don't get it twisted. I am not Puerto Rican. I'm black. Right? Down the line on my mama's side, somewhere down the line, family I've never met. I'm sure it's something else. That's why I'm light-skinned. But can I get off this team? Can I get off this team? Can I request a trade? It's not beige raised yet, infamous. Can I request a trade? My mama named me Dewan, D''W''A''N. I couldn't get jobs because they didn't know what they was getting when I put that name on the job. Can I get drafted by y'all, please? I don't want to be on this high yellow side no more, this light bright side. People had the nerve to come in here and say, "What is all this light on light violence, Curtis? You're talking about Steph Curry? You're talking about Drake? And now Lupe? Can somebody draft me? Tired of being light skinned in this motherfucker. I'm tired of this shit, man. Where? Can you please draft me? I'm not even being funny no more. Please come draft me. This shit, I don't relate. And I'm talking about Lupe. I don't relate to a lot of the activities and shit that we. I don't relate. Can y'all come? You got me? Can Afro Butterfly? You got? Please draft me. I named Dewan. Yes, look at that on my resume. They're like, oh, you ain't getting this job today. Come on, man. Those are my thoughts, though, DIYers. What a fucking crazy reaction video that was. What are your thoughts?
DIY.
Somebody come draft me. I'm out of this shit, bro. I'm out of here. You niggas can have it. Light-skinned brothers gotta stick together. No, the fuck we don't. Not after this year. Nope. I'm out of here. I I feel like I'm not understood. I feel like the Dewan on the outside versus the Dewan that you see on the outside doesn't add up. People look at my name and get surprised, like, oh, had no idea. I thought you were more Juan than you were Dewan. Draft me. Get me out of this. Draft me. Hey, come draft me. I take the league minimum. I sign a 10-day contract. If I start acting wild, get rid of me. On my mama. Hold on, let me get to these super chats. Hey, on my mama. Hey, look. On my mama, I would look. And I ain't disowning my mama. My mama's she over there too. She over there too. Come on, mama. Hold on. I don't know if I ever showed y'all this. Hold on. We getting off a little bit, but I want to show you my mama. Can I show you my mama? How proud I am of her. Hold on. You need to understand. Look. I come from a Southern Baptist background. If you ever see me over here preaching, it's because Mama had me in the church. Mama did have me in the church. Yeah, I might have went left a little bit sometimes, but I look. The prodigal son will find his way home eventually. But I'm out here in these hip hop streets, and I'm trying to say, look, hey Drake. I hear you don't want people freeing the slaves. That's me. I'm over here. I'll put me on that list. Rappers trying to free the slaves, put Curtis King on that list. Yep, that's me. Put me on that list. Hold on, let me find my mom's video. Let me check my mom. Hold on. Mama, where you at, mama? Mama, where you at? Roll. I need y'all to understand how proud I am of this woman. Matter of fact, no, I got it on my Instagram. Can we go to my Instagram real quick? And by the way, don't be shy. Come follow me on there and leave some love. I'm over here at Curtis King. Hold on, let me get you here on the other side of this. Come follow me on here. All right. Appreciate everybody that's been in here. I'm about to show love to the super chat, and then we're gonna get into the next story. But let me go ahead and move this screen. Come on now, get your stuff together. All right, here we go. My computer moving slow. I know it's hot in here. Computer is like, please get through these stories. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me stop the recording and then start it again, so I don't kill my editor. Oh my goodness. Can I show y'all my mama real quick when she in her element?
And I want you to be encouraged that God has heard your prayers, that God has, they have learned their lessons. And my son told me not long ago, he said, Mama, you've got to trust your teachings. We as adult children know how to do the right thing, even in the midst of doing the wrong thing. So you got to trust your teachings while they're out there. Okay, somebody need to hear that.
Amen.
And I want you to be encouraged.
Next slide. Look at my mama cook.
So I trust God even in my neighborhood. I trust God even when I go through. This morning, the devil tried to attack my stomach, as I said, but I said, I'm still going, and God, I know you got me.
Come on.
Because I'm doing your work. Then he tried to attack my shoes, but guess what? I don't need the shoes.
Come on, mama.
Hallelujah. I can still praise him anyhow. And you've got to learn to continue in the teachings. Continue in your prayers. Don't give up. Don't give out. I'm not tired.
Come on, mama.
That should be your testimony as you leave here. I'm not tired yet. I won't give up. I come too far to give up now. Oh, hallelujah.
If you ever hear that in my voice, you got to know where that comes from. That's my mama, dog. That's my mama. You kidding me? That's Roro. That's Roro. Put some respect on my mama name. So if you ever see any light in me, of course my pops is fierce in his own public speaking right. But that part came from moms, and I need you to understand where this comes from. I need you to understand why I'm trying to get drafted up off this team. Come take my mama too. Let's go. Let's figure this out. Get me off of this. Hey, Drake done set us back 1,700 years. I don't even know what's happening back then. But you didn't set us back. Come draft me. Huh? There's finna be all kind of podcasts reacting to this. I don't care. Come draft me. I'll sign a 10-day contract right now. What? Okay. I'm done. I'm done with I didn't even get to all the stories in there, but that was enough. Okay, we got to get to some more stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a change. Why is it so yellow in here? That is not the way that, no, that's not going to happen in my video. I'm going to look back at this edit and be mad at myself. All right, we got to get to this next story. This one is a little bit more fun. We still going to get to the two stories. We got two stories we got to get to. This one is Steve Harvey. Wait. This one is Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey has made his way to the Curtis King channel. Steve Harvey has found his way to the YouTube channel. Oh my goodness. When did I create a YouTube channel that allows me to talk hip hop and Steve Harvey? How did I do that? You may ask. Well, stay tuned. You gonna not like this. Hold on, let me get this light right. Why am I so See, I'm already yellow in this light too. Man, turn this model light up off me. Come on, man. Come on. All right, that's a little better. I'm in here sleeveless. It is 80 degrees. Oh my gosh. All right, let's get to it. Hold on.
DIY.